In the May 2nd Commissioners meeting, we'll start the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janelle, you want to come up with a 4-H fair equipment request?
I sure can. I'm gonna bring Chad with me just because he's good at answering questions.
Okay.
So I always ask Chad to come on. I didn't realize when I came last time that I had some normal stuff that I had to do too, so we're back.
Okay.
The first one is to request you, it's gonna tweak a little bit. We always request to use county equipment to move things down in the grandstand the week of the fair. With what we came with last week, or the week before, and some changes to the grounds at the grandstand, we really won't need anything during the week of the fair. However, before they begin that, what I wanna say,
The improvements.
thank you, the improvements of the grandstand, we need to borrow the equipment to move the big tires. So instead of using it the week of the fair, can we use county equipment to move the big tires that we do during the week of the fair when it works for that?
It has to be the payloaders all we really need at that point. Just to move loading tires, and then once we get them down to the area they're gonna be at, and we get back them out. The truck and a lot of low boy would be nice as well. If that would be doable.
The only hold up, we're not exactly sure on the timing, can we have Chad get in touch with someone? Or when it's needed?
Yeah, just we'll give you like a week or so notice.
Yeah, but
Does that work?
If I can give you more, I will.
okay.
It's court on when the gentlemen are wanting to get the one to help us down there.
Okay. So that's number one.
So let's deal with them one at a time, I guess, on that. So your people will be using the equipment, not highway personnel? Like you're giving them the equipment, they're using it, it's not, you're not using a staff member?
I think a lot of times maybe one of our guys would be there to help. you
Correct.
do it.
Usually there's a highway guy running the county's equipment. not
That's what I was
for
gonna say.
insurance.
I prefer that we have our own people running it, but I
Correct.
wasn't sure if that's what your request was.
Yes,
And for what, one day, half a day?
I would say probably half of a day to move the tires. I mean, it's usually, I don't know exactly the number of tires, but we can only haul so many at a time because it's so large.
So what day is this on?
They were just gonna
To be
touch
determined.
base. Yeah,
It'll be after the fair.
It'll be
Well,
sooner
it'd be
than the
before
fair.
the fair, because we'd like to get work started before the fair.
yeah.
Any issues from a highway?
No.
You're okay with helping them out on that?
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, that's a partnership, we always wanna work together with them, and as long as the highway is consulted and things work out together with them, why, yeah, I'm good with that.
Commissioner Hostetter?
I'm good with it.
I'll move that we allow the equipment usage as it's been requested.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Second one is Bob Gress, who is part with us and part with the park board, has been requesting a new truck for the last couple of years, saying his is getting to the point where he's uncomfortable driving it off the grounds and it breaking down. So we're looking into replacing his truck or keeping the truck he has to use on the fairgrounds and getting him a new truck. So before we went out looking, we didn't know if the county had a surplus somewhere that something could be rolled over, or if the county buys trucks, if they can add one to it and then it gets it to us at a cheaper rate. So we thought we would just check here first as far as brainstorming how to replace or get him a new truck.
Either that, or even if they've got a decent truck that could be retired from the county or any of the other departments, and just utilize that truck on the fairgrounds. If it's a better vehicle than what we got for Bob as of right now, because what right now we have is cost of repairs getting to be.
I think when we retire trucks, they're retired, right?
I didn't know.
Ours are not in much better shape than what Bob drives.
I understand, I didn't know if sometimes if there was one just
Right.
better, you know.
Right.
We don't need anything spectacular, we just need something, you know, safe and.
I think his truck is from the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it
And
is.
it's in kind of bad shape.
Yeah, it's seen its better days.
When I took the state auditor around last time, she goes, "Oh, you look like you're gonna be getting a new truck soon." She saw it.
historically, who's been responsible for the cost of buying Bob a truck?
The council and the park board split the cost, is the way I understand it.
But it is titled to the county.
Yes.
So to answer your question, we're not gonna have any extra vehicles, but I mean, when we get rid of them,
For
they're
sure.
tired and we're tired.
Yeah, I was gonna say, other than the highway department, I don't know where in the county.
You
I
have
mean,
trucks.
not that there aren't any other trucks, for example, the sheriff's department or something like that, but the highway department would be the most likely place you'd find a retired truck, and to their point,
And so
I'm
that's
not sure it's
not
one you want.
not a good idea to look at.
We've got one sitting there now, so we're gonna need an engine. You know,
Chad?
That's pretty minor. So on your other question about government pricing,
Yeah.
we probably do have a little bit of that, but I would say I would think they would honor it for the DuBois County Park, if they're part of the buyer. And it's gonna be titled to DuBois County.
I was gonna say, this is just something we've never done before, so we didn't know the best way to go about it.
Kind of
Maybe
like-
you could write up, or help them write their specs to
Yeah.
put it out.
yeah, if you like have some pickup or something, is that what you're?
Yeah, just a standard cab half ton, it doesn't, plain green big, we don't need anything spectacular like it's there.
Okay. The way the stock of stuff like this, that it could be, especially if you're ordering, it could be a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't need a brand new one necessarily either. That's where we're falling into trouble thinking it's gonna be hard to find a used one.
Yeah.
That's why we were thinking if there was not leftover surplus or,
Yeah.
okay. So we can talk to you to kind of help us
Yeah.
do what we need to do. Thank you again. And then that's all we have there. I just didn't know if there was a resource that we could tap into. And then the last thing is, we were kind of talking with some updates we've done and the changing in the, down at the below the grandstand, the horse arena, and some other concerns we had. As a council in the buildings and grounds, we wanted to just invite the three of you out to kind of walk the grounds with us and see some things that we see and see some improvements we're making, see some concerns we have, just so you guys, we didn't know how often you guys are invited out to actually look at the grounds and see them. So we just thought we'd ask if you guys wanted to come out one evening and walk with us, look at stuff with us.
Yeah, there's some things that need attention, and just kind of, if you guys would have any ideas of grants or something like that, we could maybe go after to help us with some of the repairs on the buildings.
That's my third thing. I'm done after that. But I don't know if that's something you guys are due or are interested in.
I would, anytime you get the three of us together, that constitutes a meeting.
Oh,
And
well, we can take 3 separate tours. No. Okay,
which is part of the difficulty.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and I get your point. My first thought was, I'm out there quite a bit, talking about or talking, whatever, but that's not a tour.
right.
And, that's, that, from your point of view, you want to show me those things that I don't see when I just walk through.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Well, we've had kind of a rollover of buildings and grounds this year. And I've kind of pushed them and challenged them, and they've been well aware that there are some things we feel like have been neglected that we'd like to start addressing, and we've kind of brainstormed ideas, but we would like to just make aware other people. You guys who are gonna hopefully help us brainstorm some stuff.
I would suggest you just send us an invite, because I was there like twice in the last week myself, just kind of
Really?
walking around and driving and checking things out. And I mean, up there somewhat regularly, but I'm sure one of us would be happy to come out on an evening
Okay,
and check it out, and then they can come back
Come
and
back
report
to-
some more.
okay.
we appreciate it.
Your meetings are once a month.
We meet once a month, but then our subcommittees, like buildings and grounds, we've been meeting once every 2 to 3 weeks, working on different
And whatever
projects.
whatever your schedule allows, we can make it work for
Yeah.
us. I mean, we're flexible, a lot of us guys. I mean, most of us can pretty much make about anything work. Okay, so we're very flexible on that.
I guess I request evenings because I want to be there too.
Well, that's fine. Just whatever.
But
works.
if a daytime works,
Yeah, I mean, we could try to make whatever work.
Okay.
Would appreciate it.
Okay.
So do you have our email address with any of us?
I have all 3 of them, I think. I know I have phone numbers, but I don't know that I have emails, but I think I have.
I'd rather you text me anyways.
Perfect. Text, Mr. Ramos, what about you? Because we've texted.
Yeah, we've texted before, sure, and whichever way it works for you.
Okay.
Your phone?
And then Chad,
Yeah, they've got-
I think Mr. Ramos gave me your number too.
Okay.
when I was looking at, when the BOA stuff went on.
Yeah, I just.
So I
my
have-
email's on there too.
Just
so-
got on the website.
Just handing out,
It's fine.
Chad's are yours.
It's on the website, that's what I tell people, give it away, it's on the website.
Everybody can find it, right?
Yeah, I think somebody would be happy to come up and check it out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So that, oh, what?
No,
Okay, I was gonna say, that's all I have.
thank you.
We're good. Hopefully we
Appreciate it.
don't come back, but you never know, right?
Come back anytime.
Well, guys, thank
Thank
you so
you,
much for
guys.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think they say, 5:15.
Fit the claims against the county. Anybody have any questions, changes on those, modifications? I'll move to be approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We have our payroll from the last couple weeks. Anybody have any changes there? I move that we approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we have minutes here. I think we have two sets of minutes, one from the regular meeting on April 4th. I don't know if that one was, no, I think we've approved that one previously. So we had a special meeting on April 25th. And a regular meeting on April 18th. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes? All right, I'll move that we approve both the April 25th and the April 18th minutes as written.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Highway supervisor report.
Okay, first item, met with county council last week, following a discussion on the road grader purchase through the cooperative purchasing agent Sourcewell. They approved for me to seek your consent for the purchase of the machine while advertising for the funding takes place. If you look at the second page on the handout that I gave you, it is defined through the specs that we put together. Sourcewell is going to provide several discounts on here, and if we can get a signed purchase order to get the thing built, get in line and get it built, and it gets delivered here by the end of the year, we're eligible for another $62,000 discount. So that would bring our number to $347,887.31. And I do have $92,000 of our highway funds that we can put toward it. So discussed with the council to do an additional appropriation. What was that saying? 260,000, yeah, something like that. So along with this does not include the trade-in as well. So once we get the trade-in worked out, we've got a roller that we're looking to sell as well. We're going to put that towards the purchase. So, but what I'm looking for today is your approval to go ahead and contact them and get the purchase agreement signed.
If we approve it today, we don't have any say on the delivery date. So is that, what if it's not our fault that they don't deliver it by the end of the year?
I had the discussion with him. He said he will go to bat for us.
I don't want a $60,000 surprise. I mean, if we were ready to pay and ready to buy today, if it doesn't show up,
Yeah, and that's what I said. We're bargaining in good faith here. So, given that fact, I would think that, we get the purchase order taken care of and get it in, get moving on it right away. We should be okay. provided that if it's coming from a slow boat from someplace and it doesn't get here, then he said they would go back for us, so whatever that means. But,
And we bid the item out, as everything was in order for this, and this is where we ended up, right? I mean, we don't, I just wanted to verify that.
And when you say he, you're talking about Sourcewell?
well, it's a purchase agreement through Caterpillar, through Sourcewell. Yeah, Sourcewell has the, they've got information on bids that they had put together before. Boyd Equipment is a certified Sourcewell representative, so it goes through Caterpillar, through Boyd, through Sourcewell.
And who is Sourcewell? I think you tried to explain that the last time.
Yeah, they are a cooperative purchasing agent nationwide.
A co-op of state highway departments?
Pretty much any purchasing that would be done through a governmental agency or a nonprofit, where you can get the most discount pricing that you can apply
They
for.
have contracts with certain things.
Yeah, I think years and years ago, I don't know who it was, but I think Sourcewell was used for Du Bois County through Staples to purchase office materials, office supplies, that type of thing. So it's used quite heavily. I think Brent said when he was,
I was at the NACE conference this week, and all the big suppliers and equipment manufacturers, they all had Sourcewell plaques sitting next to their stuff, so I think it's nationally done.
and
So you think
there's-
it's all maybe like our Staples contract with them? That could be.
Mhm.
We do get stuff through Staples cheaper.
Yeah, it's a cooperative purchasing agent, but I did some research on it and wanted to verify that it was, State Board of Accounts approved and everything. And there's 6 or 7 other locals here in the Southwestern District that utilize it as well for equipment purchases.
It says that they're a self-sustaining government organization, so they have a .gov email address. And yeah, I guess so it's not even a for-profit business, it's a government.
Government.
A lot of the paperwork is done by the seller themselves. So we have to apply and get our account, which I've already done. We've got that set up and ready to go. Caterpillar takes care of the rest, or if we go anyplace else, they would take care of the rest through Sourcewell.
I mean, I'm satisfied to move forward with it. We're in much better shape than we were a month ago when you introduced it to us.
Yeah, no, I don't see any other option, actually.
I'll move that we approve the purchase of the road grader at a price not to exceed $350,000.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I think the council gave me 360.
Pardon?
Didn't the council give you 360,000?
I don't know why.
Well, total sales price is $350. That would include my 92.
Okay,
The council was gonna do 260 plus my.
that's right. Sorry, I had the 260.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. A lot of my past couple of weeks has been dealing with equipment. So on the handout behind the grader handout was the information that we got from Pyramid Equipment on Packmore's 10% increase, because I guess it was a year later that the chassis showed up. They did have some verbiage in the contract that if steel prices went up, that they were allowed to pass that on. That was 10% of the bid of 83,000 and some odd dollars, so that would have made 8,300 pass increase to us. I negotiated with Pyramid, and we settled on a difference of $6,655. Just looking for your okay to pay this amount with the 88,225 or 83,225. So when that comes in, we would actually be writing Pyramid Equipment a check of 89,880.
And I guess within the contract that you looked at, this is all allowable acceleration of cost.
They had an escalation clause in it, yeah, on the bid.
Any discussion points here? I'll move that we approve the additional expenditure of $6,655 for a grand total of $89,880.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, disposition of truck 104, I haven't had any time to do anything with that, but we will. Outside of that, that's all I got.
On that, I still need a response on that 300 North. I asked you about the through traffic that that citizen asked me about.
Oh, I spoke with Jeff. I didn't hear back from him yet, but I'm certain that we put something together some 10 years ago or so, that there was no through traffic on 300 North. However, it was allowable on 400 North.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
No, I had a local person who lives on 300 North
Okay,
say there's been an increase of semi-large vehicle traffic. He said, is there anything that is, are there any rules that say this isn't a through traffic road, or, you know, the big trucks can't be on this road? He just had a question about it. And I said, I'd ask Steve to see if we had something like that in place. And he's saying, from memory, he thinks that 300 North is not supposed to be used as a through road, but 400 North could be. I think that's.
I think that was first brought in, I think by the city of Jasper. I think they requested it. I'll look into that and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, even if you just took a picture of whatever if there was an ordinance or a rule or something, then I can send it to this guy and say, here's what we have, so at least he knows.
He was gonna dig into it and I hadn't heard from him, so.
is this, west of Jasper? We're talking west? of
Yes,
Jasper?
west of 231, from basically 36th Street going out.
Down to Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, I
This
think
guy's
there was-
house is one of the last couple before you take the rotation document.
Yeah, I think there was no through trucks, but I think it was allowable on 400 or 47th Street, so.
If they want one more road north. The other one, I sent something last week about the Department of Transportation presenting Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program webinar. That's today. I was wondering if one of you were able to,
I signed up.
you sign up, go review that and report back next time. Thanks, sir. That's all I got. Thanks.
That was 400, what?
400 North is the one where the through traffic is okay, and 300 North is one we think it is possibly not a through road. Just with a.
For trucks.
Didn't we deal with that years ago?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
I thought we did that
I
years
thought we
ago.
did,
Yeah,
because it was some farm trucks cutting through to go to Ireland or something that way.
yeah, and I think the city didn't want them going through there.
I just know.
So I think we worked something out with the city to not allow that traffic going through there, but
differently than the other.
we allowed it on.
Probably just 10 years ago, 300 North had more homes on it than 400.
400 North, they can't, 300 North, they
I would say it was the last decade ago that that isn't true anymore. I'll check that out. Yeah. I mean, sometimes there are those 3-ton truck limit or something. You would think if, like downtown on Vine Street, for example, people park on both sides, there's barely enough room for one real regular vehicle, much less a semi, so I would see where they would do it there, but on this county road, I don't know what would be. Yeah, absolutely.
If you're coming towards us with 300, I'm just brainstorming here, but at the 300 jumps you into more city. Traffic than what 400 is. So,
That's what I was telling him, and if you go back 10 or 15 years, that's more true than it is today, because they're developing a lot on the corner of Huntersville and 47th Street. Church keeps expanding. All right, Mr. Wendell, County Engineer report.
Okay, bridge inspection this round. So phase one was, the field work for phase one's been complete. I did have a meeting with them, kind of laid everything out, nothing too major, nothing to worry about. I had received the invoice from American Structure Point in the amount of $46,882.65. I have reviewed it and I recommend it for approval.
Any discussion?
no,
You did say, I don't know, I might have missed it. Is this for the small structures?
No, this is our,
This is the regular
guys. Yeah,
Who's doing our small structures?
that's JCA.
No.
They've done the field work as well, but they haven't got the books in to start yet. So I should receive invoices here soon, but nothing too major.
I'll move that we approve the invoice of $46,882.65 for countywide bridge inspection.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, community crossings 2022, the ones we applied for in January. We were awarded $497,150.52, so a grand total of project costs of $662,867.37. These, we're gonna be paving Steinbottom Road and Jasper Dubois. My goal is to bid these on June 6th meeting. So that's good. I mean, it's 2 big projects we wanna crank out and get out of here, so pretty proud of that. Obviously with asphalt prices, I do have quite a bit built in there, so I'm hoping our prices are within that range, but unfortunately, we don't know. So that's all I'll have. As soon as I have the NDOT contract, I'll get it approved by you guys, and I'll get my, do a DocuSign thing where I'll sign it via DocuSign, but I'll bring it for you for our sign.
and there will be a second round of community crossings like last year.
Yeah, and we'll figure out what our budget is and how everything went, and how much we have left over, and we'll try to apply again to get the rest of the million. But I like the fact that we split them up, do 2 and 2, just for budgets. I don't want to do a full $1 million and that way asphalt prices and rock prices are, and then we have a project that falls apart, we need money. Well, I've already got all this money budgeted for community crossings. It doesn't look good if I have to give them money back because we can't afford it. That doesn't look good for. So just by doing a little bit of time at the end of the year, clean it up, I think that's the best way to do it in my opinion, for us, budgetary wise. Paving projects, I got nothing for that 2021 round 2 yet. But then we'll be bidding those projects at 9 for the next ones, and that's the spreadsheets I have for you guys for bid tabs. So that's all I've got right now. You guys got anything else for me? I know Chad mentioned that. Safe roads, I'm gonna sit through that this afternoon. It's 1 to 3, I think is what it is. It's a webinar, so.
And Brenna, or Steve, I didn't know if one of you wanted to look at this. This was a thing of other infrastructure funding that's gonna be available. If you just want to check that out. I read through it. There's more information there than, I mean, it was in one of our NATO magazines.
Yeah, I did that in the magazine now. So,
Okay, I thought you might want to look at it. You can keep it or bring it back either way. Okay, thank you. Anything else for you, Wendell? Thanks, sir. All right, we have about 15 minutes until our next item. I'll hand this one out. I think there's one there for each of you. What this is, I asked for an update on the process for the broadband work and the pool ready, or the make ready work with Du Bois REC, and I was given this information. I'll try to give you the updates. I know people are interested in where are they at, what work are they doing. With Orange County Fiber, they've completed routes from State Road 545 near Patoka Water, west of Du Bois. They went north to 56, then they went over to Hayesville, and then from Hayesville, they went 500 north over to Division Road. And what this is, they're calling a fiber ring. They're kind of put a circle around the heart of Du Bois County, and from there, that they can put fingers out from there to reach residences. So they've made good progress there. With PSC, they've done work near Ireland, completed routes along Stewart Road, Division Road, near Jasper. They're also working on routes along State Road 162, near State Road 64, Walkersville, Brettsville, St. Anthony, in that area. In the near future, they're going to be working towards Vernon and Huntingburg and Birdseye. So, I mean, they're all over the place. And before we even signed any agreements with them, they were working in Celestine, Schnellville, Cusco areas. So all of our communities, towns, small areas there's work going on in those areas so that the broadband the fiber can be run. So just thought that was something that might be interesting. And if somebody asks you where our money is going, there's part of the solution, or part of the answer. That being said, they also have sent us an invoice for our first disbursement to them in the amount of $83,963.66. I'll pass these over if you want to look at those. The way that they have them invoiced doesn't mean a lot to me. I don't understand what they're doing. They'll have like an area, and then they'll have that it's one unit and a price. But each of these units, one unit was $900, and the most expensive one was $23,000. So I think what this is, they probably have the county set up into road sections. If they call each a unit when they're done in there. But to clarify, I've contacted their engineering manager to find out more information to make sure we know where our money's going.
Yeah, they could probably break it down which of these routes are.
10 poles between here and here.
Right.
Or at least explain exactly what that is. So I would guess there's a master list, and every road in the county is labeled. So I will probably approve that for payment this week. I'm just waiting for a response from REC first. So I just wrote it down this weekend, and I haven't heard back yet. Any comments on that?
No, appreciate the update.
Sandra, I will give these back to you soon. Actually,
That's the only copy, so.
I'll just let you have them because I've got an idea of what's there.
You did say that was our first invoice, so.
That's our first invoice. We were actually wondering when they were going to start billing us because we knew they'd been doing the work. So they reached out to me a week or two ago and said, who do we send the bill to? And so they worked with them.
At that rate, we'll have a lot of invoices.
There are a lot.
Well, but he's saying it's under $100,000 for this one, and we're gonna spend over $2 million. We will have plenty more coming. Okay. Next up, for a miscellaneous item, we received a letter from the Orange County Commissioners. And what they are asking is that we support them, write a letter of support to the Forest Service about a new forest plan for the Hoosier National Forest. The last one was completed in 2006, and they're stating that a law is that they have to update it at a minimum every 15 years, and that is outdone or outdated. I mean, I think they're having the Orange County Commissioners are having some complaints about the methods in which the clear cutting, the burning, and the number of acres that are being affected, that they, I guess, aren't happy with how it's going. So I thought maybe you all would like to look at that, and we can consider, here you go, if you use that.
I'm familiar with it. They also approached Local Water and Sewer and asked for support there as well. At this point, we've not done that yet. I don't know whether we will move forward or not. We didn't feel like it affected our operation at the lake to any great extent. I can't remember what the project name is.
Buffalo Springs.
Buffalo Springs, there you go. Harvesting of the timber, and the main concern is the clear cutting sections and the erosion and wash off of that area. So,
In my experience, the Forestry Service has been pretty conservative, and they have a well thought out plan when they're doing things. Does it look ugly and sound like a bad idea? I guess on the surface it does to me, but I don't know the details.
well, that was kind of our discussion at Topa Water as well, that DNR is involved and all of that, that there's plenty of checks and balances there. The part about the updated plan, there again, I'm not sure how they operate on that, but if they're, they want to, I think what this group is asking is to put a halt on it and update that plan, and that will delay the process. And whether that's an advisable thing to do or not, I'm not sure. So,
I suppose I would be able to support following whatever if those laws that they're saying are correct and they're behind on updating their plan, I'd be in favor of supporting the Orange County Commissioners and saying, we'd like to see you follow those rules for an updated plan. Lots changed in 15 years, so. If you guys want.
The pictures that they show there are actually not part of that project. If it's the same, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing that I've seen. They're actually of a section down in Crawford County, just east of Verti. They're meant to only meant to be an example of what clear cutting looks like.
They're illustrative only.
Illustrative. The road, we saw a section of that when we drove for that railroad crossing, and there's a picture of that on there.
Does the board want me to make a response to the Orange County Commissioners at this point, or do we want to just ignore it? What do we want to do?
Are they doing a complete clear cutting?
Sounds like
In some sections, yes. I mean, there's a map there that
I could, later on, during public comments, I could make a couple statements about Buffalo Springs and what they're trying to do. But I could wait.
on the map that they show, there's all kinds of harvesting procedures taking place, some of which is clear cutting.
Some of it is thinning of hardwoods, thinning of pines, selective cuts, shelter wood cut, stand improvement, and then the prescribed burns and clear cutting. So they said that the 20,000 acre Buffalo Springs project proposes more than 5,000 acres of logging, including more than 1,200 acres to be clear cut, 19 miles of road construction, converting 8 miles of the popular Youngs Creek Horse Trail to logging road. repeatedly burning up to 15,100 acres of forest, including up to 5,000 acres of private land. Now, that's the part I didn't understand, how they could do anything to private land without consent.
Yeah, I'm not sure, they may have cooperation there.
Right.
And, just coordinating it.
And spraying herbicide on nearly 800 acres. We have a couple minutes until the next agenda item. Mr. Nortowski, do you have something where you can tell us anything, like in a minute and a half, or?
I was just gonna say, if you wanted more information, so I've been to the Buffalo Sprakes, I've been with people there. I can get you in contact with Jeff Stant, who is with the Indiana Forest Alliance, who can give a lot more education on what's going on there. Their biggest concern is about the amount of clear cutting taking place and the prescribed burn and the negative effects that'll have on there. So if you want, I can get you contact for Jeff Stant, I can get you a contact for Andy Mailer, who is with Heartwood there, that are involved with the project.
And both of those people would, do you believe, in your estimation, what those people would say it would be a good idea to get an updated plan and stop operations until that time?
Absolutely.
Who's on the other side of this thing?
Sorry.
The Forest Service.
State Forest Service?
In this case, it's the National Forest Service, I guess.
Yes. So it's a Hoosier National Forest, so National Forest Management Act.
So the Orange County Commissioners want support to redo a plan or what?
I think they want us to send a letter saying, we want the project to be paused pending release of a new, more forward-looking plan that is responsive to public concern. I guess I don't mind getting a little more information.
Yeah. I don't know both sides of it, so I hate to form an opinion and then come back later and say, oh, didn't think about that.
When you hear one side, it sounds like the right thing to do, but we don't know the whole thing. Okay, thank you for your input. Let's go ahead and do the Congressional School Report and Drug Court Surplus items.
Annually, we do a report of the Congressional School, which we have two different. One of the funds is the CD of $17,402, which is held in perpetuity. The interest that's gained off of that every year, we distribute $696.08 to the schools, and we hold the rest of it in another CD fund. Right now, there's $52,743.68. So I have to send this to the state every year. So
And what can we do with that $52,000?
not much of anything. You hold it. Last year, we decided to keep it here locally instead of send it to the school, to the state for them to manage. It's our money, we held it here. So, no, you just hold it in perpetuity for the school.
It's like a foundation or a
It was done in the 1930s, that's all I can tell
an
you.
endowment that only the interest is.
It was on the sale of the 16th Congressional, like the 16th section of land in every township. And during that sale, then it goes to those schools.
Okay, so we have 3 copies here.
Township. Okay, now,
There's so many sections in each township, and the sale of the 16th one, I think
the
is what it was.
16th
Section.
section was set up for educational purposes. The one-room schools, the old one-room schools were on that
So,
section, I believe.
so then those were held, if we hold this CD, we can't, I mean, it can't change, $17,402. All the interest that CD has got goes into another fund, and it's up to 50-some thousand. But you can only distribute $696 a year.
So it's gonna keep growing.
When the interest is high, that's when it gains a lot of money.
I'm not sure I'm accurate in that description of that, but it had something,
That has
something
something to
along
do
those
with that.
lines. That one section, kind of like when the city develops a subdivision, when it used to develop a subdivision, a certain amount of acreage had to be set aside for a park. In this case, way back when, a certain amount of space or acreage had to be set aside for educational purposes, to put a school, place a school.
And once that land was sold, it goes into this, went into this fund.
That's what it looks like to me.
And now it just stays there.
All right, I move that we approve and sign off on the annual report and verifying that this is the correct statement of the school funds of the county.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I think there's 3 of them. So
I'll get one more back.
Yeah.
There's 3, 2 for the state and the rest.
That's fine, we're seeing the original last one.
He gets impatient. All right, another issue here, this is a miscellaneous item, we're waiting for you folks to sign. There's an LEPC meeting on May 11th, and I will be in town. That's the local emergency planning committee. I am allowed to appoint a proxy to act and vote on my behalf. Would either of you like to attend that meeting?
May 7th?
May 11th
May 11th.
at 1 PM in the Pfaffenbauer room.
Let me see. What time?
1 PM.
1 PM I'm out.
What did you say again?
May 11th.
Got a radius lunch meeting that I'm planning to be at. If no one can make it, I'll try to get there late.
I can't do it, not at 1 o'clock.
Mr. Brahms, I will appoint you as my proxy. If you show up, you do. If you don't, that's okay as well. I will let Tammy know our situation.
Let her know that I'll try, but I may be late.
If you can't make it, you can always contact me. I mean, there's always a chance I might be able to get out.
Go ahead and write that down, please.
Lunch at French Lick is at 11:30, lunch meeting. So probably about 1 o'clock when it ends.
Right.
And it'll be done before you get back. But just in case, I'll tell her that you may attend. And the amount of feedback and input that I have for those meetings generally limited. There's people there. Steve's always there. I believe French goes sometimes as well.
Ben.
You've been, and we also have, we've got multiple people from the county that are there. Okay, next we have drug court surplus items.
The drug court has 3 all-in-one desktop PCs. They're no longer being used. They're in my office waiting to be erased if you declare them surplus. They're Hewlett Packard all-in-ones, but I can tell you.
Are they still usable, or they're saying that they're outdated and replaced?
Telling you that they no longer can be used. I have not looked at them myself. I just know they brought them in. We have an all-in-one on our counter, which we've had trouble with, but they got it fixed and working now. Hewlett Packard came in and fixed it. But I don't know anything about these. They
It's
just
all
look
in
like
one mean, it's in the
monitors.
screen.
They,
just like
yeah,
a-
they look like monitors is all they are.
Okay. So they want them out of their inventory.
Mhm. I think Ron Garrison sent that email, and I forwarded it to you all.
I don't remember reading this. So it's the judge's recommendation that due to confidentiality issues and the computer should be destroyed. But by that, you having them erased is the same. meets
They're
the same
blank when I do
standard.
that.
Anybody want to see the emails? Okay, so there are 3 Hewlett Packard all-in-one desktops. I guess the models are 22-B016. I would move that we declare those surplus.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I also have a chair that is broken over here at prosecutor's office that they would like to dispose of.
I will move that we allow for the disposal and declaration of surplus for the chair for the prosecutor's office.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So with those computers, do you think it's best just to send those out to solid waste or recycling? I don't know if those, I guess I'm not familiar with how big those are or what that would all
Look
be.
like a mom.
You're still gonna dispose of them properly versus just throwing them in the dumpster.
I would say we can send those out. I'll just start trying to deal with the laptops
Okay.
or smaller.
And then the highway department's computers were replaced last week.
Yeah, I think 2 of them were put in place. I think they were working with a connection with WTH, so I think they'll find out more on that and get the other ones replaced today, hopefully.
Is it on the list of surplus?
They're not quite finished yet, but there will be.
Are most of yours laptops or are they?
PCs.
And they're probably 6 years old.
Uh,
Pushing 7.
Push the 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
As old.
Per computer. It's sad to say, but it's true.
Still a few minutes here until we open our paving project bids. Anything else from the auditor?
That's my list.
Anything from the county attorney?
No.
So what does the board think of have you both been able to look at the public access form that Mr. Schneider put together for records requests?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with it in its current form, or should we change anything on it?
No, I think.
I utilize some other entities here locally as well as other counties and put that together. They seem to all be about the same.
The only thing I wondered is if we needed to put, well, one, have we made a price schedule for things such as body cam footage? I know what the statutory limit is $150, but I don't know that we have a price in place.
I don't believe we do because those, no, not that I'm aware of. I can check with the sheriff and see if they have anything yet.
Yeah, please do, if you don't mind. We can, because if someone comes in and requests it, we want to be able to tell them what it will cost them to obtain that. To me, $150 sounds like a ridiculously large amount of money for something that can be, that's owned by the public already, that they're already paying for ahead of time. But I don't know if there may be more into it than I'm thinking. I believe it's much like paperwork that if someone requests, we are supposed to charge them at cost, not including labor. So that would be 10 cents for the piece of paper or whatever the ink would cost to print it is what we should be charging the public. In this case, I don't know if there's more to this body cam situation that I'm aware of, so I don't want to make any judgments. But if you'll check into that, that'd be appreciated.
I can do that.
So like I said, that's the only thing I was thinking, if we wanted to add that to the form, that if you want more than, well, I guess you charge for every page, right? If somebody comes in and wanted a document. And I know the clerk's office, recorder's office, each have price.
Yeah, it depends which office you go to, the price they pay.
You said we need to have those fees in place.
I didn't know if it would make sense to put those on the form, so people knew when they requested that if they wanted 400 pages of payroll, that they were gonna be paying $40 for that, or $80, whatever the cost
And
is.
they have the ability to request that price list on the form already. Check here if you want to be told about the fee before copies are made.
Okay. Then in that case, it would be important that we at least have those
Have
fees.
that available.
Because I would guess if you went to some offices, it's probably pretty rare that someone comes in and asks for a records request. Because most of the information's on
Yeah.
publicly available gateway anyway.
And
But if
that,
they did,
and that checkbox is right before I acknowledge that I may be charged for a fee for copying the record. So if they don't check that box, then whatever our fees are, they would be liable for that.
The bulk of the ones we receive are usually through their own correspondence. They're requesting those costs in advance, and they request electronic over hard copies. We haven't had to charge a copy cost in some time.
I know in the
Because
treasurer's
there's
office,
often-
sometimes people would want the past several years of their records and we'd have to charge for copies.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like we had a lot of research or if they weren't bulky. Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea just for each office to refresh themselves with what they're charging so that people get charged in a uniform fashion. Okay. Any updates on my favorite topic, the coal mine bankruptcy?
No, I think he was gonna be in town late next week. He's still working on some information. I think the DNR was doing a study to establish where the high water mark was gonna be in the mine itself and make a determination on how the slope was gonna work in the pit.
So at this time, the bankruptcy's still open.
Mhm.
And you are working with someone who is representing one of the people that is or may be a buyer,
No,
representative for the bankruptcy.
working with someone who is a contractor that will do the work, but he's also working with the assurance company who is holding the bonds. So, and it's through the DNR, through the state.
The state wells for the reclamation.
Yeah.
So he represents the state reclamation, that's part of what he's doing. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Schneider?
He's coming down for the big picture, of which we are smaller lease guardians.
Okay. It's 9:00, we'll go ahead and do the paving project bid opening. I believe Mr. Schneider and Mr. Winholt will be opening those, making sure we have complete and accurate bids, and they will be reviewed after they're open and determination will be made. So, please proceed.
Okay, we're opening up bids here. This is for project 22-03, 500 West. First bid from Cal Park Paving.
Sandy, do we need to call over to see if there's any more bids? You got them.
A bid in the amount of $187,348.25. 187,348.25. Second on the same project from E&B Paving. Bid in the amount of $225,900. 225,900. Third bid from J.H. Rudolph and Company. $204,010.75. 204010.75. Final one on project 2203 from CNR Construction. Bid in the amount of $239,456.35. 239456.35. Next project is 22-04, Town of Ireland, 500 West, 150 North. First bid is from Calcar Paving in the amount of $409,713, 409713. Second bid is from E&B Paving. Bid in the amount of $499,100, 499100. Final one for project 2204 is CNR Construction. That bid is in the amount of $519,754, 519754. Four bids on project 2205 for 100 East, 420 North, and 520 North. First one I'm opening is from Calcar Paving. It's in the amount of $165,405.75. That's 165405.75. Second bid is from E&B Paving. That bid is in the amount of $208,300, 208300. Third bid on the project from J.H. Rudolph. Bid is in the amount of $195,984, 195,984. Final bid on the project from CNR. That bid is in the amount of $193,833.85, 193,833.85. Four bids for project 2206 Old Road 545 and Du Bois Road Northwest. First bid being opened is from CalCar Paving. That bid is in the amount of $29,348.35, 29348.35. Second bid from E&B Paving. Bid is in the amount of $41,400, 41400. Third bid from J.H. Rudolph. That bid is in the amount of $40,245, 40245. Final bid on project 2206 CNR Construction. Bid is in the amount of $42,424.25, 42424.25. There are four bids for project 22-07 St. Anthony Road West. First bid from CalCar Paving. Bid is in the amount of $239,503.45, 239,503.45. Second bid is from E&B Paving. That bid is in the amount of $286,300, 286,300. Third bid on the project is from J.H. Rudolph. That bid is in the amount of $244,150, 244,150. Final bid from CNR Construction. That bid is in the amount of $275,457.45. 275,457.45. Four bids for project 22-08 Celestine Road North. First bid from Calcar Paving. That bid is in the amount of $179,014.30. That's 179,014.30. Second bid comes from E&B Paving. That bid is in the amount of $220,900. 220,900. Next bid from J.H. Rudolph. Bid is in the amount of $227,500. 227,500. Final bid on project 2208 is from CNR Construction. That bid is in the amount of $216,044.50. 216,044.50. Final project has four bids as well. That's project 22-09 Old Huntingburg Road, 400 West, 150 South, and 100 South. First bid is from Calcar Paving. That bid is in the amount of $309,204.25. 309,204.25. Second bid comes from E&B Paving. Bid in the amount of $330,700. 330,700. Third bid on the project from J.H. Rudolph. Bid is in the amount of $284,182. 284,182. Final bid from CNR Construction. Bid is in the amount of $337,127.15. 337,127.15. Thank you. I believe the highway engineer will take these under advisement and come back with a recommendation in Right, at subsequent meeting. You guys are looking for holiday giveaways, letter openers, might get a little.
Do you guys have any questions, anything on any of that stuff? Before I move on? So-
Do what? I know.
Here's all the prices are over our estimates.
Yeah.
Which one's that, 2206?
Yes.
By a couple $100?
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're gonna take a minute and then we'll get back started with Jeff Kemper. So Sandy, I looked in like 2018, your office had a resolution for copy fees, $1, $2.10. So it wasn't even different sizes.
Yeah, we have code steps on 50 or something like that.
So should I'm gonna send a letter out. Yeah. Send that out, if that's what it is. Please consult your.
We have our sign up, so I don't know, I mean, that might have the ordinance number on it, if you wanna see it.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Print them and scan them and what we're trying to do, you know, necessary, so. So we're waiting on, the last two things, and then we'll do a whole other year, and so it's a little bit more consistent. Yeah, that's the goal.
And it's a resolution, right?
Oh, exactly.
What's y'all do? I think everybody's their office.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Resolution 1801 is our office.
Right, I think we got. I just didn't know if that.
Okay, thanks.
Well, what happened, yeah, and it was just, it's basically, everything else is going. It happens, in the case of, you know, an issue where somebody filled up a piece of equipment, but the wrong fuel type was listed on there, and so kind of we get in a routine, like if you see like a vehicle on a 3, you know, like diesel, all of a sudden, like, the diesel showed up, and it's like, wait, it's something, that doesn't seem like what happened was, and it's like, so there's the, you know, January, send it into the Department of Revenue. And want to see it, they're gonna go. No, everything's fine, so it's just more of a, yeah, just kind of go back. And just make sure we're on the same page, so no question gets asked. You and I are saying the exact same thing, it's not like, yeah, so that was it, I think we're good now, and it's now, going through the first year, first couple of times.
I gotta be honest, today was different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it went so well.
So you're trying to, you know, what's your language? I'm asking for language,
I saw that stack and I was like, oh, there's room for it all.
Really good, so just wanted to thank you. Make sure you thank Ann, because, yeah, she's been fantastic. Appreciate it.
Excuse me. Good morning. Yes, good morning. How are you, Jeff?
This is receipt of paving projects, right?
Your church, on the Doug Bagley?
This is just for paving projects, right?
You see him over
Being
at
on the
the
end,
strip club?
see the paving project, it's a construction.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, his estimates, you know, or.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
Surely they all know what they're supposed to charge.
He's very close to retirement. Retiring, he is.
Dossett Consulting, Jeff Kemper, has a presentation for the commission today.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sandy,
Thank you.
just a briefing on the out for you to read it to read it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Well, thank you all, and a special thank you to Sandy for putting us on the agenda. We appreciate the opportunity to spend a little time. Mr. Dossett sends his regrets early in the month. There's a lot of crunch time in our business, and Jeff Dossett is right in the middle of all of that. So wanted to have a chance just to chat, tell you a little bit of background about Dossett Consulting. I have been reaching out to Sandy as well as to Amy in this county for the work we do, which involves child support reimbursements. And rather a detailed program goes on where the clerk and the prosecutor and the 4D courts have a requirement to do a monthly claiming to be eligible for reimbursements from child support 4D expenditures. The auditor, on the other hand, has the opportunity to do an annual cost allocation plan, which allows for reimbursements of all indirect costs relating to child support expenses. What I gave you in the handout was mostly a background about Jeff Dossett and where he's been, and you'll see the letters on that first sheet that says CAP, short for cost allocation plan. And I thought in order to let you know a little bit about where our company has been and where we hope we're going, the other two pages have to do with the clerks, some of our clients with the clerks, as well as our clients with the 4D courts and prosecutors. Just a little bit about Jeff Dossett, which is on that sheet. Jeff Dossett, as it says there, was formerly a clerk and an auditor up in Montgomery County, Crawfordsville, Indiana. And I think Jeff's experience on that side of it probably has made him very qualified to have the resources on this side. He started his company about 12 years ago. After being in public office, he had decided to branch out, and he worked for actually one of our competitors for a while and saw that maybe he could build that better mousetrap, and he started the company about 12 years ago. He's grown to 4 full-time employees in the office in Indianapolis and a couple of part-timers for this time of month. First couple of weeks are kind of a crunch time in this business for getting reports to the state and so forth. And happy to report that we are, as a company, now in 48 counties with 100 contracts spread between auditors, clerks, prosecutors, and 4D courts. Jeff's obviously got the experience and has some great, what I call number crunchers for the data input type things. And business was good enough a few years ago that he had reached out to me, which I had been retired, as I think Chad knows, from SRI, the tax sale company, and I was working on a couple of little part-time things. And Jeff said, business is good. I'm having trouble being Mr. Inside and doing the outside work to follow. So happy to be working for him now for almost 5 years. Basically, I won't bore you with the whole program, but we are also backed by a software company up in Michigan called MGT Consulting out of the Kalamazoo, Michigan area. It compiles a report, a bigger report necessary for the auditor than for the clerk and the others, because theirs is more of a monthly claiming to be eligible for these reimbursements. The cost allocation plan, this happens to be one for Tippecanoe County, and very detailed, much more than probably most auditors would ever want to, need to. It might be like, I say maybe like reading the Bible or whatever. However, what Jeff likes to do, particularly when we have a new client, is to be able to sit down with the auditor and say, okay, here's what's in here. And this happens, Tippecanoe is a little bit bigger than Du Bois County, but significant. And he might share, here are a half a dozen places that you might need to refer to. I'm told by
Sometimes an auditor gets the book, maybe puts it in a drawer, maybe never needs to look at it or whatever, but Jeff at least wants any auditor to know this is a good resource if things come up. So that is the key, and as Jeff Dossett has always said since I've been with him, maybe he's considered not a large company, but it's nice to know to have a good size MGT is well known, I think, at least in the Midwest, for doing the resources to put plans like this together. So they have a monster database. So that's basically where we are. I think the other main thing that Jeff would bring to Sandy and Du Bois County is we would be with you anytime there might be an audit from the state. State Board of Accounts has an occasional audit for different counties. Jeff will 99% of the time be there. We do have a sharp senior consultant named Steve Livesey, who has been with Jeff probably for about 10 years. Young man, and he's very sharp. My role as a sales guy is not to get involved in the details. I don't get down the weeds with the rest of them, but I can certainly connect any of our clients with Jeff or Steve or our other in-office people. So we're excited to have the opportunity to work with Du Bois County. And I'm here, as I said to Sandy, I just wanted to be here for questions. I didn't want to ramble on too long, but I'm obviously very excited to be working with Dossett Consulting. And as you see from our list of clients, we have a nice client base, and we'd love to have Dossett, Du Bois County. I said to Jeff coming down here, I said, I'm going to DC, which is of course Dossett Consulting. I said, ooh, DC. Is that a code? Du Bois County. Going to a commissioners meeting. So I appreciate being here. Any questions either now or later? I'm happy to follow up if you have questions later.
I don't think I would have any questions. My main thing would be to take the advice of our auditor, clerk, prosecutor, see what direction, what they're most comfortable with, because ultimately we want to get maximum reimbursement, but I think they would be better judges of who can help them do that best than me.
Sure.
In particular, but no, I appreciate you coming down, Chad.
I might mention as a side note, Chad, I was on the council up in Tippecanoe for many years. And I remember years and years ago, I've been off the council now 8 years. And I remember one time I saw an expenditure from another vendor, I'm not going to mention the name, but I said, hey, we were paying a pretty healthy expenditure to the vendor. And I said to the auditor, Bob Flanagan, I said, Bob, what do we get for this? I was the guy that always thought, do you really need to outsource things? Is this stuff you can do yourself? And I remember that in round terms, the round figures, the number was about an expenditure of about 10,000. And in those days, getting about 150,000 back. So I thought, well, here's a councilman that's asking questions. I probably should have known that before. So I said, okay, that's good. 15 to 1 return on your money is pretty good. And of course, those numbers are larger now. Mr. Dossett said to me, if you can't get us connected with Tippecanoe County, you're really not with your salt. Well, I have, and we do, and the number has grown. I think their fee might be a little bit higher, but I think the reimbursement is something like 300,000+. So I mean, there's a lot of money in this, and so it opened my eyes, and that was probably 2/3 of the way through my tenure as a councilman. So I understand the value of all these child support reimbursements. Incidentally, we did provide the proposal to Sandy. I didn't bring extra copies. Everyone's got one? Okay. So, and if you need anything else, we can certainly shoot you copies of that. So,
I do appreciate your time and effort in this. I know I got an email from you end of last week, and we got a call from Jeff as well. So I know you're very interested in putting some time and effort into this, and I appreciate that. And we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
yeah, okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Appreciate it.
Yes, you would, you know.
That to us. Did you?
I thought I did.
I thought you did too.
I did all of it. Maximus.
So is it those two companies are the main two that?
Maximus, Malcom, Dawson, are the 3 companies that I know to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
There's another
That'd be
number
great.
that I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of yet. I mean, could be out there in the weeds somewhere waiting to pounce. You never know. Just ensure, you know what I mean? It's just, never say never. You never know.
Sandy, you gonna start a company like this when you're?
No,
You can get a new Jeff Dawson around here?
no.
That was quick.
No.
All right, next up, Malcon Consulting, Daniel Vaughn.
Sir, thank you, and thank you for having us. I'm Daniel Vaughn with Malinowski Consulting. We go by Malcon. The further you go south, the harder it is to say Malinowski. Up north, it's a lot easier, but the population.
He asked me this earlier.
It is, and that is kind of the reason. Ordering pizza gets a little awkward when somebody's like, how do you spell that? So just kind of a brief history about what we've done, what I've done here in Du Bois County. I actually started in Du Bois County in 2011 working with the clerk on a revision project to get more money back into their child support through the Title 4D program. It was Clerk Jarbo at the time. And the interesting thing about that was I actually started working with Sandy in August of 2011 directly because she was the payroll deputy and we had to get some information. So Sandy and I have known each other for 11 years. Worked very closely every single year, and she's been extremely instrumental in helping bring in reimbursements. Since we started working in 2011 in Du Bois County, we've brought in over $400,000 to the county general fund. That's money that is unrestricted in its use. The cool part about that is we get paid through a federal grant incentive funds, so it costs county general fund absolutely no dollars to get that money back into the county. So the same kind of the plan with the cost allocation plan would be to utilize Fund 8895. It's a county incentive fund that can only be used for Title 40 expenditures. It cannot be used for anything else, so it's very limited in its use. The prosecutor has a fund called 8897, the prosecutor incentive fund, and the clerk has an incentive fund. Right now, Fund 8895 at the end of 2021 was sitting at about $167,000 in there. So with our fee, that fund is still gaining $8,000 a year. It's still healthy, it's still growing, and the fund needs to be utilized. When a fund is bringing in $13,000, it's already up to $167,000. It looks like it's not being utilized. It's harder to spend that money because of its restrictions. So our proposal would be, our cost allocation plan fee would be paid for out of that fund 8895. Again, it would be all the reimbursements from that plan goes into county general, none of it gets paid out of the county general fund. So I think that's always a great thing to be able to do, and it's a rarity to be able to utilize a federal fund to get the county money back unrestricted in its use. Most recently, we've been working with Steve in the highway department to get some fuel tax reimbursements back, and we've been able to find about $8,000 there on an annual basis. So the reason I'm saying all of this is we're very familiar with Du Bois County. We've been working in Du Bois County since 2011. Brought in a lot of money, and everything has been clean in an audit, and that's the biggest thing. And the reason I'm here presenting is I'm the one who does the work in Du Bois County. I will be the one doing the cost allocation plan. I will be the one doing the review with Sandy. I will be the one gathering the information. I will be the one boots on the ground. I will be inputting the data. It'll all be me. Nothing goes to anybody else. Unless I get abducted by aliens or get hit by a bus, then we have another senior consultant that does the exact same work we do, but we're a very small company. And we believe in the intimacy of doing the work. If Sandy has a question in the past, we have communicated, and it's always very quick. We work with Clerk Amy currently in the clerk's office, and I know that I'd love to have her here to help speak for us, but with an election coming up, and her hands are kind of tied and a little bit busy. We have a great working relationship with them, and again, it is very quick responses, one source contact, and this plan, we have to go through, the biggest person impacted would be Sandy in her office, because we have to gather the information from them, reports, work with her, so having that relationship is very, very helpful. And that is our proposal to do the cost allocation plan. And just like Jeff said, I'm around for any questions, either now or later. And I think everybody got the proposal of the contract as well, the agreement prior to.
You have that one as well?
I have extra copies if necessary.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Because I have a couple extra for you
I've
guys.
got it here.
You got it? Okay.
Yep, I've got it.
Excellent.
Just located it.
Sandy, when is the decision have to be made on, the vendor selection?
We're currently under contract, we have to break that contract, so we have to give 60-day notice.
Well, that's where it was, yes.
So it's an allowable break at any time with notice?
No services have been done for this year with Maximus.
Okay.
And our contract's written in kind of the same way. It's about as close to a handshake as you can get at any time. If Sandy was like, we're in a year into it, we don't want to work with you anymore, she can break and there's no penalty or anything like that.
Great. Well, you heard what I said to him, whatever the auditor and those other people are probably, they're gonna have a lot of sway over what I would be interested, what I would support. Sorry.
Yep. I want to see the current contract I have here.
Sure.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Does anybody else have anything for Mr. Vaughn?
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Would you like to see this one? It's the current. So from a cost standpoint, looks like all three firms are comparable. It'll probably come down to a comfort level of the people that will be working directly with them. And
I don't have any experience with Jeff's company. I do have stuff with Malcon because we have been working with them. I can't say either one would be better or worse than each other. I think it's just a comfort level of, I don't want to stay with Maximus because last year they switched people who did the actual work. I was told they would be here in October, I was told they'd be here in November, I was told they'd be here in December, and they came in January. So my funding for last year, I couldn't use. So that's why I'm looking to want to switch.
would you like to make a recommendation to the board at the next meeting after you've had time to consider the presentation?
And I would like to talk to Amy too. I have not gotten a chance to do that.
So if you want to, it's up to you whenever you're ready to make that, we'll do that at a future meeting. And there it goes. Thank you. We have 5 minutes until the next agenda item. Brent, can you give us an update on the ADA website situation? I know you and I have had some emails on it, so you're doing a webinar with them next week or
Next
something?
week, yeah. With the consulting company team called me saying our website was out of ADA compliance, and they have a proposal to bring it back into compliance and then have a yearly thing to keep it in compliance. So I entertained it, you and I spoke on the phone about it. I talked to Sandy, and then Revise is under contract for a while, and part of their contract is make sure we stay ADA compliant. They went and did a review. There were a few things that they changed, right, Sandy? Very minor issues, but we're now compliant again. So what I'm going to do is I will entertain their proposal, see what they've got, but more than likely that's all that's going to happen out of the thing. Because
So really, it could be a matter of opinion that Revise would say, no, it's compliant, the other guy would say, no. the
Yeah,
way we
well,
read it is.
and Revise said there were things out of compliance, so they probably did find minor things, but they've already been addressed and fixed, and it didn't cost us anything because we already have a contract with Revise. So I think we're okay. But I had talked to them. I promised them an hour of my time, so I'll give them an hour of my time to look into it.
Who said we were out of compliance?
This company they're out of California, but
So it's a company that wants
our business.
bring us to compliance.
Correct.
And we get those requests occasionally, and I usually delete them, but this time.
Moncito is what they're called.
Yeah, I just didn't.
Monsanto?
It's not any enforcing agency or anything like
No.
that. That's
No, that's fine.
What can go wrong? So I knew what was the status, but I thought the two of you may be interested in that.
Sure.
So with Revise, what was the next step with them? Because they stated that since we've been with them so long, we're due a
Our current
revamp.
contract with them is a 5-year contract, which is just about up. This June they're up. But in that contract, after year 4, we could have done a refresh, which is part of it. So they're gonna start working on that. But they're supposed to do this ADA compliance. We're supposed to make sure we are in compliance all the time. So he did run it and he only fixed a few.
You found a handful of issues, but they were all minor, so.
When people upload stuff, they may not label it right, or they may not, and they fix all that.
So I think it'd be nice, I don't know what the next step is for the refresh, if we need new photographs or if we need. Yeah, I took all those pictures for the last one, and my wife made them pretty, or I didn't take all of them, I guess Jeremiah did do some of them. But I think they're great local photos, they show some local character, and maybe give me something to do on a couple weekends, take some more photos. And
I don't know what all was involved in it. He said he'd get back to me in June, so. And do we want to stay with Revise? Maybe we want to go to the state website, who knows?
the way I look at it is if they owe us a free refresh, we might as well take advantage of it and see how it comes out. Have we had public feedback, positively, negatively, recently on the website?
I have not heard
I'm
anything.
not
I've
heard
not
anything.
heard anything.
We used to get plenty of comments on the old website. So I think we've headed in the right direction, and that's a good thing. We took care of that.
The only thing I ever hear is, can you put this on for me because I don't want to, or I don't know how, or I forgot how, or.
Sure. That'd be another thing if we had someone that was their part of their job, it would be.
Well, but everybody has access, they just don't always want to do it.
I mean, I was pretty heavily involved early on, and within 8 months of not making updates myself, I didn't really remember how to do it. I would have to relearn
It
it.
took me some time.
Yeah,
I mean,
it takes a
I had to
while.
update, and I'm like, oh boy, so I just stepped back, go read through my instructions again, then it kind of came back, but yeah, it took me a minute.
So it's not hard, but it has steps.
I'm in it every month, so.
Right.
No, thank you for that update. It is 9:45. We have Xsoft assessing software. Assessor Giesler's here. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning, Andy.
Okay. So this morning, I just wanted to come and talk to you guys about the possible and probable need of converting to a different assessing software at some point. Feel like the current assessing software we just had some issues with customer service, and they're just not readily accessible. It takes a while for them to get back to us on issues. And there seems like there are numbers of counties that are still with them. They used to be probably the number one company in Indiana, had most counties. And now they're down to maybe one of the last companies that is, with the numbers of counties. They currently have maybe 15, 16 counties left in the county that they provide the assessing software for. And probably of those 15, 16 counties, probably 8 of them are looking at converting to another software. I'm looking at converting or looking at getting Xsoft, which is one of the leaders in the industry in Indiana right now. They have about 72 counties that they provide the assessing software for. So that's who I brought with me.
What's our current vendor called?
It's Thomson, Reuters, Harris, ProVal is the assessor.
Does that ProVal, is that going to affect the auditor and the treasurer?
No, because the Xsoft will export and transfer and communicate with the MVP tax system as well. We have you have a list, this is Ed Kerner with Exalt. He has a list of counties that Exalt has and the different tax systems that they communicate with.
So at this point, they've integrated with just about any kind of systems that,
Right.
if they have 72 counties.
Correct, yeah. And what I've heard is that there's not a problem communicating with it. I mean, there's a lot of counties that don't have the same vendor for assessing and tax. That's very common, that they don't have the same vendor for both types of systems.
Will it provide any benefits to the community, as far as when they can look things up on the GIS or on any sites? Is there any upgrades or changes there that people would see?
I don't know that it is going to update the GIS site with the information, probably similar to what ProVal is providing there. I don't know specifically if there's any grave differences in what it would provide to the GIS public website. But I know it will provide at least as much information.
Do you have any more, do you know that much more about it, that side of it?
I would say from the public's perspective, I think the greatest efficiencies that they would see is just the efficiencies that the assessor gains in our use of the application. In terms of the interactions with other applications, it's certified, state certified software application, just like the current one. So all those requirements the state has are in place for integration with the auditor, the treasurer, your GIS system. So.
Yeah, I said if there was any other benefits, I mean, those, but I'd ask.
Yeah.
The only point, I gave you guys a list of current customers, and I know you guys would catch it. Yesterday, when I cut supplies, I left 3 counties out and put one in there twice. So I will get an updated list to Angie, and she get you guys an updated list. My point with that, giving you guys that, is I'm not gonna say, oh, call XYZ county. You'll have the whole list of counties, or assessor-wise, call them, ask them about our support or anything. We're a company that prides ourselves on our support, and I encourage you to call any of those county assessors and see what they think of the software.
What is the parentheses, the low MVP?
That is who they have for tax software.
Okay.
Wow, as a company.
Yeah, Lao, Guts, and we have 10 right now that counties are on our taxes.
And we have Lao.
No, we are with MVP tax.
MVP.
MVP.
tax.
Yeah, that's in there as well. And the point is, state certification, we have to work with any software vendor, no matter who it is on the tax side, and vice versa. They're required through state certification to be able to pass data back and forth.
We would just have to mark in our system which system they're in, so we know which one to integrate with.
Convert to integrated.
And talking about recertification, that's kind of a concern of mine, because the recertification of software systems is going to start July of 23, and with it being done June 30th, 2025. So that's another concern of mine, is that if more counties leave ProVal, they get less numbers. At what point is it going to not make it feasible or cost efficient for them to certify their software with the state? Because you're looking at, they did have I think you talked earlier, 78 counties, now they're down to like 16. So I just feel like there's kind of a shift and a changing there as far as who the leader is, and who will be around for the county to service the county and provide that service that the county desperately needs, to job. So that's kind of why I'm bringing it before you guys now, just so you can kind of see that there is probably gonna be a future need. Do I know for sure that they'll eventually go away? I don't know that for sure, but the trend is looking like there's gonna be more and more leaving them, and their numbers are gonna get down. And plus, I feel like the customer service just isn't there on my end as far as when I do have a question. It poses a problem sometimes, with getting an answer back in a week versus maybe a day or two. So then I do have a proposal of what the cost of switching to the Exxon camera system. So just in a nutshell, it's looking like it'll be, if you go down to the net total fee, would be about $290,000 for the system and the conversion. And Exalt has agreed to spread that fee over a 5-year period. So we could just pay a fifth of that each year for 5 years, and to pay that conversion licenses and installation and all the training to convert to the different system. So that would be about $58,000 a year for the conversion. Maintenance would be around $51,800 for the annual support. And they did highlight saying that Harris, which is ProVal, would charge a fee for providing the data to Exalt for the conversion. So just kind of wanted to put that out there.
How does this compare to our current vendor? Well, let's say our current vendor, we were pleased with them, and if we were to do nothing, how does that compare to this?
Well, this is definitely more expensive. We are paying a support annual fee of $20,151. But for some reason, it appears that DuBois County is getting a discount price through Thompson or through ProVal. I don't know what we're going to call them, but that's not their typical fee. When I look at other counties, their fee that they pay for ProVal is a lot more than ours. Do I have the answer why we pay less? And I don't. I wasn't involved with that support fee. Will that support fee stay the same? Maybe not. I have no idea. I just get the bill in the mail and they say, well, it's this much this year. So there would be an increase in the annual support fee for the Exalt camera system.
So as far as just the expense of the conversion, installation, those kind of things, we're looking at, all other things being equal, we're looking at $24,000 for the cost of converting, it looks like. And then the parcel fees, I'm sure we pay a per parcel fee for our current license, the ProVal. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what other costs we have that we wouldn't have currently. So what are we paying for licensing with our current vendor?
$20,151.
What are we getting for $260,000, the biggest item up here?
That's for Exalt there.
Right, I know. So that's
The $260, that is for the unlimited license. It's basically for the camera system, and then there's the fees for installation. I mean,
I guess what I'm saying is
address the fees here.
The current vendor we already have, I'm sure we could pay a camera license for them.
It's included in that annual. Once you pay the upfront licenses, then after that, you're just paying an annual support fee.
So you pay for a license one time. So we've already paid for a license with ProVal, now we have to pay for a license to do it. So it is a $250,000 more to convert to them, a one-time fee.
One time.
Is that correct?
Right.
So more than $250,000 for that, and then their installation conversion fees.
The license fee we paid upfront to ProVal,
Yes,
that goes on forever?
as
Right.
long as they
Covers
exist,
that
yeah.
license forever? There's not a 5-year plan to this, or 5 years?
No, and let me tell you what ProVal used to do. And how do I know this? I used to work.
They did what? All right, I didn't catch you.
I said, let me tell you what ProVal did. I worked for Manatron one time. What they used to do, every time they did an upgrade though, they would charge you an upgrade. I would say you guys have what you initially invested probably 2 or 3 times. You paid them for upgrades. They quit doing that. Your software's probably been here since about, I'm guessing, 1990. So that software's 30-some years old. So your investment was a good investment. I mean, spread out over 30 years or whatever you've paid them, not in support fees, but actual software fees, it's probably been a good investment. Same thing, you've got to look at Exalt. This is not an investment that's only going to be like 5 years. Hopefully, this one lasts 20 years or more too. So you're making an investment that's, we'll say 20 years. You're not paying really that much for the software. You're making an initial investment. We do not charge as a company for, every year there's updates. You have to make changes to software every time the legislature meets. That is part of your support fee. We do not charge additional fees for that kind of stuff. That's built into your support fees. But if you look at your initial investment, and I can't tell you how many times you guys upgraded, I'm too old.
I don't do their site, so I don't know.
But anyway, it was an investment for you guys. And maybe you averaged $10,000 a year. Hopefully this software lasts, 20 years or more. And that'll only be an actual investment of $10,000 a year. You gotta look at it in different ways, I guess. I can tell you, I don't know a lot about your support. It's been too long since I've been with Manatron. But using Vigo County, I know that one off the top of my head. They have approximately twice the number of parcels you guys. Actually, they have less than twice the number of parcels that you guys have. And they're paying $75,000 a year for support. If you took what you had and doubled it, because when I showed this to Vigo County, Kevin Gardner got a heart attack. He said, they're only paying that much? We have less than twice the number of parts, and they're paying $75,000 a year. How your support has stayed at that fee, I don't know. And I can't speak on it. But you've been discounted. So you can ask me any question. I'll give you an honest answer if I can. I'm a former county official, former county auditor and county council from Jackson County. I've only been doing this 34 years.
That's not too bad. So, for the bottom line though, we're looking at an investment of $290,000 and we're gonna be paying twice as much for the service. And does ProVal charge have that fee with Harris as well?
That is their fee. They would charge us that fee to provide, that's just for the conversion. That's to provide the information.
Okay, there's a
To-
one-time cost of $3,000 to $8,000 for.
Right, that's
It's not
just
a yearly
conversion.
thing.
No,
Okay.
no, it's just a conversion, charge to provide our data, basically our data that we have on ProVal to Exalt to convert it to their system.
What is your, if you did decide to go with these folks, what is your funding idea?
Funding idea would be, I wouldn't, not looking at even doing the conversion till possibly next year. So I'm gonna go to the council and brief them on what I would, I'm looking at doing, but I would start just putting that in my budget every year as far as the 5-year increment of the conversion cost. And then, put it in the budget for the increase in the support fee.
Commissioner Hostetter?
So I'm not asking money up front, I'm just kind of asking to make you aware that there could be a possible need of converting to a different software. And just to see if y'all would approve and be supportive of the change.
Commissioner Hostetter, questions, comments?
You know, I don't have any problem with her pursuing this. It sounds like ProVal might be on their way out. Rather be proactive than reactive in this case, so, yeah, I don't have a problem with her pursuing it further. Learning a little more about it.
I assume you've previewed the software. And anytime you switch from one software to another, there's going to be a learning curve and that sort of thing. But in previewing the software, what's your impression of the capability or of what this Xsoft offers compared to what you were using with ProVal? Are they offering is the software going to be a great deal more helpful in your office?
Yes, it appears to be a lot more user-friendly, easier to maneuver within. And plus, I feel like they have more of a hands-on customer service. Like I'd actually have a live person that I can call and talk to on an issue, where now I have to put a support ticket in through Thomson Reuters or ProVal. And then it may be 2-3 a week later, I finally get a response back for the issue I was having or question I had or whatever. So I just feel like just having the hands-on support person is a big plus. I do feel like it's going to be, once you get through the learning curve, I feel like it's going to be a lot easier system to maneuver around in and to process.
That's kind of what I'm looking at, or the way I'm looking at this is almost like buying a new truck at the highway department or buying a new computer in an office somewhere else. This software, even though we have had updates through the year, it is still a basic 30-year-old piece of software. And at some point, all the updates in the world don't bring it up to today's standards. And that's what I'm hearing that we need to do at this point is to start with a new baseline, if you will, a new piece of software that brings us up, brings the whole package up,
and they also have other software packages that the assessor could utilize in the future. We have vendors that we use for our personal property. We have vendors that we use for our sales disclosures. And personal property, mobile homes. So there's other softwares that Xsoft has that we could implement and bring into the process also. And then we could have one cohesive company kind of doing, that we're using for all of our processes that we need to assess properties.
Yeah, no,
And like you said, I mean, we've had, could we survive on ProVal for another few years? Yeah. Could they at some point decide, hey, I'm not going to certify, and then we're under the gun and we have to find something else to use? Possibly. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I'm just trying to be proactive, and I don't want to put the county in a situation where, we don't have a software system and we have to look for somebody and make a rash decision and try to do something, without having time to think through it and work through the process. So.
No, I think I get it. It's a lot of money that, Chad said $250,000, $260,000 there, perhaps that we could keep operating without spending that money, but for how long, as you said, for how long? Eventually, we're probably going to have to do something
I mean,
and upgrade.
could be probably, you know. Can I predict that in 5 years? Sure, or maybe they'll be around for another 10 years. I don't know.
But even so, you'll be using
More up to date, just more current.
if you stay with them, you're going to be using an older platform, an older piece of software that has been upgraded through the years, but still an older baseline.
Yeah.
So when was your software?
It was 7.
I mean, I guess the question is, you say 30 years, how old is your software?
When did I start?
in existence at 7 is when they started developing.
Yeah.
Started developing in 2007.
I would guess that ProVal wouldn't like the characterization that their software is 30, whatever years old. 30-year-old software wouldn't work today. I mean, that's probably an unfair way to characterize their product.
No, I'm not saying it wouldn't. It's not that it's not working. It's
So I just wanted to,
Yeah, no,
I'm sure
it's different.
there's more new to it.
Than a truck. It's different than a
Yeah.
piece of hardware. I get that, but I'm trying to draw some comparison.
Mhm. So as far as with this, Mr. Schneider, on any changing or bidding, anything like that, because of the electronics, the type of product it is, there's probably exempt from that, correct?
I would assume so, yes, it's it's a service, it's software. So the bidding process, I don't know that it would necessarily apply here. One question I had on the existing company, is there a service contract that has an out clause to it, or are we even under one anymore?
not that I am aware of.
Okay.
But I can find out. I mean,
If we were to sever the relationship there, does that have any implications on us, from a penalty period or anything?
I wouldn't think so, but I can double check that.
Like
I
contracts.
can tell you, working for them, there is normally in that contract, it's a renewable contract. It just renews for another year. And you actually want to try to see if you can find one of those contracts. Some counties have to give a 30-day notice, some have to give a 60-day notice. And I don't know what yours would be, because it's been in existence for a long time.
And that's why I'm coming now, because I'm not looking at converting this year anymore. I'm looking at possibly next year. So that's, I'm trying to be proactive so we don't get caught in any kind of situation where there'd be additional fees other than what they would normally charge for providing the data for the conversion.
Do you feel like you get over $4,000 a month worth of service that you need from your company? I mean, if we're paying over $50,000 a year, I mean, do you get $4,000 worth of communication with them, or do you need them that
From
often?
Exxon?
Well, I
With
mean,
the
from your
new
current place, do you contact them so often that?
Well, I don't even have the, I don't know that what I'm currently paying with ProVal. I have no idea when they may take however they're deciding what they charge me. I just pay whatever they tell me that I owe. Now, can they come to me this year and say, oh, I noticed you guys are getting a discount and you're not paying what most other counties are paying? And they say, oh, you owe us $30,000 this year for support. That could be a probable situation too.
Okay, so what about with the new folks, if we went with Xsoft, are you gonna need, you get $4,000 or $5,000 worth of service a month does that seem like a fair price to you, I guess, is what I'm asking?
For the industry of what most people are paying for support, yes. Yes.
I mean, 'cause I know with Matrix, we pay a ton of money to them, and it seems
Yeah.
high to me, but that's what the market
Right.
calls for.
Well,
I
plus
just
to know
didn't
that
know
I'm going getting with a company or converting to a company that has numbers behind them that I know they're gonna be there. For a while, for a long time. When you got 72 of 92 counties, you have a lot of support, you have a lot of backing there behind a company. When you see a company that's failing in numbers, does that not question what their reliability is and how long they may or may not be in existence or being able to provide that service to you?
I would guess their company will probably be around for a long time. They're huge, but for this particular product, I don't know. If you're losing that much market share, maybe it's not a priority to the company, or maybe it's, maybe there's something going on.
And plus, ProVal's been bought out. How many? They were with Manitron, and they went to Thomson Reuters. Now they're with Harris. I mean, they've been bought out and bought out and bought out. That, like you said, I feel like too that it isn't a priority. It's something they bought, and they'll support it until maybe they don't need to support it anymore. I don't know that for sure, and but I just feel like it's not, like you said, not a priority for them. They'll keep it on as long as they have enough numbers to support what they're doing. How long will that be? That they have enough numbers? I don't know.
And I hope I'm not coming across something negative against them or negative anything.
Yeah.
I want you to have the best software that makes the most sense for you, but it's a pretty significant investment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
$300,000.
But you, like Ed said,
Well, I think if my office would switch from MVP, it would probably be that cost, if not more as well.
Right.
The initial costs to get the program and to get it up and going are big. I know Perry County just switched $260,000 or something like that, so it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. But like Ed said, we probably had this system since 1990. So I'm sure there was a cost incurred there when we
Tech before it was manager, MVP,
or whatever. So anytime you do switch a software or whatever, you are making an investment for the future.
I was going to ask Greg a question. Did I understand that because of the cost of this would be, we'd have to bid
Well,
this, or?
I'd probably just look at it, but again, sometimes these contracts, because they have them with other counties, we can go under the same type of procurement that those other counties did. It's also a service. The software that they're providing is unique in and of itself. So it could fall under one of those exceptions, okay? So I think there's a possibility that it would fall as a special purchase.
Okay. I didn't know whether we would be presented with other proposals along the way, or whether.
Do you have interest in the other?
Wasn't there like 4 companies right now that are certified?
Yeah.
3.
There's
Three.
3
Guts is the other than, whatever,
They have
Manitron,
4
that's
counties.
whatever you want to call it.
They're-
And Guts has 4 counties.
Does Lau have assessing software, or is it just financial?
Loud, they don't have access.
Okay. So they'd be the 4th one on
Nice
this.
soft.
Right,
They have tax, and you guys are developing financial softwares. So they do have the tax side also, and are hopefully providing your financial side. Also, not that you have to go with them, but I mean just saying that they'll have that option also in the future. And there are some who just switched to, was it Vanderburg? Just went on your tax system?
Yeah, they're all like that.
Vandenberg's been, I think, through one cycle now.
So,
And Marshall just,
but anyhow, that's another, just to know that, if tax ever decides they need to do something different, Exhaust would have an option, plus other, whatever you would deem most beneficial to your side, so. Okay.
I guess where I would be is you're not asking for anything today. You're just kind of introducing it.
I'm introducing and just seeing what your overall support, if you have overall support of the going forward with a conversion of this sort, possibly next year, and probably I'll probably go into council and probably putting it in my budget for this year.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the council thinks too, because I know we had some spending concerns, and that's always,
So
Always
would you
something.
like me to, after I speak with the council, would you like me to come back?
sure, well, you might as well keep the conversation alive if it's an important issue. Get Mr. Kerner to sharpen his pencil a little bit, get the price down for us, and then
He's not listening.
So we're at 90,000, is that what you said?
maybe I have to say it
Spread
loud.
Yeah,
over
right.
5 years?
It's, yeah, and we could spread it over 5 years.
So we'd be looking at $102,000 a year, or wait, $112,000 a year for the first 5 years, and then whatever.
Well, you'd be looking at 58,000 plus 51. So you'd be looking at 110.
What's 51,000?
That's their service fee.
51.8, it would be the annual fee, annual support. So that would be an increase of 31,649 per year. And then for 5 years for the conversion would be 58,000 per year for 5 years. The upfront fee of conversion for the data to Thompson Harris was 3,000 to 8,000. That's a one-time fee. That would be at conversion. So that would happen if we convert it next year. It would be that flat fee for 1 year, and then that would be not a reoccurring fee.
We'd have to pay Harris between $3,000 and $8,000 for one-time fee, and then $109,800 per year for the first 5 years, unless the support and maintenance fee changes over. How often does it change?
I'll be honest with you, he just asked me, I've been with him 9 years, and they've only had one increase, and that was 2%.
So for the record, they've guaranteed that price for 5 years.
You know what?
I hear what I want to
If
hear.
you want to move forward with the contract, I can probably get Brian to agree to that.
Okay. No, when you were talking to him, I said, once Mr. Kerner sharpens his pencil, then we'll do a little better on this. So anyway, I guess the next steps will be, you'll talk to them, you'll
I'll
come
go
back
to
and talk to
council and
us.
then I'll come back and just kind of.
We'll look for coupons online and things like
Yeah, Capital One has some that there. Now, and if you guys have questions, that is my personal cell phone number on my business card. Call me. Anytime.
that. Sounds good,
Do you have an
thank
extra, do you have a cost sheet that I could have a copy?
you. One of these?
That would help, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
The whistle run out.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, we're a little behind because somebody kept asking questions.
Well, it's a big thing.
So it's interesting, I've got this very old computer I bought in 2005, it still works, I got a lot of photos on it, Photoshop's on there from when I was a graphic designer. But I've never tried to use it to do graphic design work again. It'll do it, but it's just not, things have changed immensely in 20 plus years.
Well,
But really, to my point though, that same computer, the software that you have on it, they have updated, and you would use the current version of Photoshop.
I couldn't
Or-
on my computer.
No, not on that computer.
We don't have
but we're
the
not-
same
but we're not
computer. We've
replacing
updated
computers.
Right.
and they've updated their software, so there are updates to them.
Right.
We're not running the same thing we did back in
If
1990.
we still had them operating on old computer systems or on a old network or on old software, I would understand that. Or
There's a reason why 72 of the 92 counties are using this and everybody's switching from. And it sounds like we've got one heck of a sweet deal with that Provel, and maybe they don't know that we have that deal.
so what do we do? Do we keep? It'll work. It'll keep functioning. I don't see that company is going to fail.
Well,
They might.
I mean, we have the
Do we-
employee tax side of that company, so they're not gonna go away. But
We can limp along, try to get some savings for the next couple of years. Eventually, will they quit doing it? Possibly. I want to support the offices to do what they want to do. Ms. Giesler knows better for her office than I would. But I think it's still my job to give a thorough vetting of $300,000 of expenses that we don't necessarily have to have.
Right.
it's retiring.
Yeah, it appears to me to be a difficult decision to move forward on this, but at the same time, if we don't a lot of reasons why it could fail.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see how the council reacts and if any other information comes from those folks. Next up, we have at 10 o'clock, we're a little behind here, Community Service Award. We're gonna talk about that. So last time I brought it up, I gave you an application form and some standards for that. And I wanted to bring that up for conversation again. I want to keep it alive, and either we do it, improve it, or we don't do it.
I've looked it over again, and I don't have any suggestions for improvement on it, or changes on it. I'd be comfortable with moving forward with it. I mean, maybe the form, the actual formatting of the form and stuff like that, perhaps.
Commissioner Hostetter?
I'm the same. I have no additional feedback, but I would support moving forward on it.
So I don't know what we really need to do to make it official, other than say that we want to, I guess we could officially say we want to implement a community service award. Do we want to open it up for this year? I believe the way I had the language on there was it was a July 1st deadline, and with the first year we could present a couple of those. Another piece of the conversation would be, what does the award look like? Are we going to buy glass, something with etched things on it? Is it a plaque? Is it a certificate? Have any thoughts on those?
Well, I think we need to make it, if we're going to do this, it needs to be first class. Or second class at least. No, it needs to be quality.
Yes.
It needs to be quality, it needs to be respected, it needs to be something that is looked to with some kind of pride. So yeah, as far as the plaque is concerned, I would be in favor of some type of a nice plaque rather than an etched award or an etched thing like we do with retirees perhaps, but some kind of professionally prepared plaque. As far as the timing on it is concerned, I don't know what the time of the year would be best. Would the end of the year? I don't know, and I don't know why. One time of the year would be better than another.
I would think there would be one necessary.
Yeah.
I know the last couple of weeks have seemed very busy with things, so
Yeah.
I think when spring comes around, people get really busy. Around Christmas time, they can be really busy. I think midsummer is as good as any, I suppose.
I don't think I'm opposed to timing, but I don't know that, we might be 5 years into the award and say, every year we have such conflict, that we won't know some of those things until we start doing it.
How are you gonna pay for this out of your?
The one that has $750 in it, that fund,
Emotional on there?
promotional. So how about this, for between now and the next meeting, I'll contact, well, no, not between now and then, but sometime before we decide what we're gonna do, I'll stop out at 4-Star, the one out by Sports Garden, and talk to that guy who was out there last week. He seems like a very nice person, and they have a showroom full of things that we can look at and I can discuss with him. Maybe I'll take photos, bring back a couple samples of things we could do. That'd be okay. And then we can determine at that point that we can open the application period starting June 1 for a July 1 completion date, and then we can award August 1 or something. We can look at maybe something like that. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So as for today's purposes, though, I will say, I will move that the DuBois County Board of Commissioners officially begin the Community Excellence Award program as we've had outlined.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So, good, it's officially created, and I'll contact the award people. And, yeah, we'll be going with that, and I'm with you. We're not doing this for it's not, I don't want it to be a willy-nilly thing. I want it to be a thing, a sign of thanks and a sign of respect for people that contribute to the community. And I think it should be something that is held in high esteem and regard. People need to be thanked for all the hard work. Well, and some people don't want those recognition things, but I think it's still a good idea for us to recognize them when we can. So that's great. I'll keep working on that. Next, solar park discussion. Mr. Schneider, do you have anything additional to bring to us on that?
Nothing, I looked at the statute a little closer, and I think last time I said that because I had viewed it as the default standards, that there wouldn't be any action that needed to be taken. I think that I changed my position on that if the county was interested and eligible to do so, we would need to take a proactive step and measure to adopt those standards. The state standards. The reason being is in the opening portion of the statute, it says that you're a solar-ready community, okay? Similar to like shovel-ready, things of that. You basically make a designation to that extent. And that then puts those standards into effect. Again, I don't see anywhere in the statute that requires us to have planning and zoning. We can't do anything on our own planning and zoning because it does not exist. But I think it's more of an opt-in, and that is now the default instead. So I have reached out to late last week other counties that are similarly situated, and one called this morning. I'll call them back after we're done, and I'll continue to follow through with them and kind of see if they had any thoughts or input on it, because what I always find is we had the same thing with CNR. It's a new law, so we don't know yet. Nobody's really vetted it too terribly far.
And if you'd like me to reach out further to recall if Barnes and Thurber.
He was one of my contacts.
I was gonna say, they provide for us.
And he had indicated they're doing a number of them, and again, through the association is why I contacted him as well.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Have there been any other counties that have had to deal with them?
Sometimes topography plays a part. So we've got some all to this area that don't have planning and zoning either, and a couple to our west as well. So the one I talked to specifically last week, it's not even on their radar.
So my suggestion to the board, or what I would propose that we do, is we accept the solar component. If you remember from the last time we discussed it, there's 10 pages of solar and 10 pages of wind, and they're pretty closely worded similarly. The one says if you accept these or less stringent rules, you can become a solar-ready community. If you do the same with wind, you can be a wind-ready community. So my suggestion would be that we ask Mr. Schneider to draw up the appropriate resolution or ordinance.
And the timing on that as well is this law is not going to affect until July 1st.
Right.
Okay, so we do it in conjunction with that, if that's the route you guys direct us to go.
So we could have him draw up something saying that we will go along with the law for the solar part of it, so that we can now say, so with the benefits of that, we say we're a solar-ready community, which I think we are. And two, it puts some, with a lack of zoning and planning, it gives some setbacks, it gives some rules, it gives some protections to neighboring properties. That if you have a residence, the setback is a little further than if you don't. And I think it provides a little bit of protection to people where we have no protections now. So I would be supportive of that portion of the law. And then I would move that we would stay silent on the wind portion of it. And the reason for that is I don't want to become a wind-ready community, because the semantics of it sounds like we are supportive of wind development here. I personally am not. So that's where I would say I would like to support going along with the 10 pages, or the 10 pages related to solar, and stay silent on the wind portion of it.
If we stay silent on the wind portion of it, do we have any, like solar, do we have any protections in place? So, I drop one right next to your house.
you can still drop one right next month, if it's for production for yourself. Right. They can be anywhere, but if you're going to do it commercially and sell it to Elmer, then would fall under different rules.
And as Commissioner Bromley brought up the last time too, again, as these entities come in, if they're looking for any type of economic incentives, come to us, and we have a little bit of buy-in there, as well as any type of no-use agreements. The structural issue on the wind, I would think far I'm not an engineer, but far exceed the stress on our roads that a solar farm could. So we're not totally out of the game. Just those are other ways that we would be able to attach, and I know you had brought that up the last time as well, and I confirmed that on one of my calls.
I could probably support doing the whole of it, but I think it sounds like it's putting DuBois County out there as something different than what we may be. Because when I've read around the state of solar farms places, I don't hear very many complaints. But when I read about wind, people complain about the dead birds, the noise, the unsightliness of it because they're tall. So the good thing about accepting all 20 pages of it would be, now we have some standards for that as well. But the bad thing is that we never designated as a solar or a wind-ready community. So it's good.
And I get your point, completely, I get your point. You don't want the perception that we're wind-ready. But if we don't do that, do we have the protections that the law provides?
We don't.
And do we want them? Do we need those? I don't know.
Well, I wonder if we're in the same boat as we are currently with solar, that we couldn't come back and revisit that at a later time.
At the last second come in and do it because we need to do it? Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Just because you do it doesn't mean you are inviting them in, does it?
No, I guess kind of like having a shovel-ready industrial site, you're welcoming.
You're advertising, promoting, maybe, I don't know.
So anyway, at a minimum, I'd like to go with the.
I'll keep looking at it, understanding that, and then the one thing I'll bring up too is that I was looking into also, if these designations were made and the county were to subsequently sometime come up with planning and zoning, can we undo what we did or add to it? It can't be, again, the definition of being the ready community. It's got to be as is or less stringent. So we could make them stricter and still carry that designation.
It'd probably be like a lot of things, but if you rescind the current policy and replace it with a new policy, yes, we would lose a designation. The designation doesn't mean much to me. The protections it's one way for us to get protections that otherwise aren't available to us due to our lack of planning and zoning. Short of that, I mean, would there be support from the board to do this at all, or would you rather stay away from it? What are we thinking here?
Well, we've got solar coming in, we've got solar projects coming in, so I think adopting the state standards on that front is certainly advisable. To make sure that we have some standards in place. As far as the wind is concerned, I'm not sure whether it's more important to have the standards or have the publicity that we're ready, we're inviting, perception that we're inviting in place. I don't know. Maybe that requires a little more research, a little more discussion.
Mr. Rostetter?
I agree. I'd be supportive of passing the solar. Today, I think, since we don't have any wind projects, we could come back and revisit that if wind projects come up in the future. Approach them kind of the same way we approach the solar.
So Mr. Schneider, looks like we have a consensus to continue forward with any planning or
whatever we can do on that front.
Yes. And I assume it'll have to be in the form of a resolution or something that you'll bring to us at some point, but after July 1st.
Right.
Can we adopt it prior to that with an effective date of July 1st like the state does?
Possibly.
You may be able to.
Was that definitive?
No, it's not.
What meant to be,
It
what
was definitely not definitive.
Sandy, you want to put that for 5 minutes on the next meeting? We'll just continue to bring it up each time and see if there's any progress on it. Okay, next up I have sheriff staff retention. I informed the sheriff that one of the commissioners would participate in the meetings or the small committee that he's putting together. We talked about that discussion of staff retention and what we can do in that front. I told him we would designate a member today. Anybody interested in participating in that? I don't know what it would entail necessarily. I believe at this point it's going to be the sheriff and 3 people from the county council, I believe, are signing on to it. Maybe merit board members, I don't know who would all participate. I don't know if it'd be one 30-minute meeting or if it would be 5-hour meetings every other week. I wouldn't think it would be that, but I think it'd be a brainstorming session.
the purpose of which is to bring a proposal to us, right?
Potentially. I don't know that he really said what the end game. I'm certain that the end game would be better working conditions and things that make the job more attractive so people wouldn't want to leave for other options.
So this is just a general staff retention, not a staff retention, supposedly brought to us by insurance.
No, the way you presented it at council was for like the deputies and the officers. Because he compared it to the Indiana State Troopers are taking people with 3 years experience and we're training them and then they're leaving and going. That's my understanding, Becky, unless you have.
But I think it's open yet as to how they would improve those.
Right, so this isn't just the staff retention via the insurance.
Insurance, I don't think so.
No, I think what happened was that was one of his initial ideas of how we could make the job more attractive was that got shut down. Now he's thinking, let's build a relationship here, let's build a consensus, what can we do?
Right.
So either of you want that one?
I'm not crazy about it.
Okay.
I think this is something that will continue on beyond my term, and it might be.
How about you? You crazy about it?
I'm not crazy about it, but I mean, if nobody else is gonna do it, then somebody's got to. Yeah, I don't know. I might learn something from it as well, because I'd like to learn how to keep my own staff.
Pay them more is what we're gonna tell you.
Yeah, that's
Better insurance, pay more.
Raise your prices.
That'd be great,
So,
We all have the answers, Nick.
right? I know.
so it sounded like you're enthusiastically going to volunteer. So thank you for that.
We'll do that.
Is that what you heard too, Commissioner Brown?
I heard that.
And if,
Enthusiastic as we need.
for the minutes, can you please put the word definitive? So Nick, I will let them know that to include, maybe to include all of us and, yeah. And this is to, you have the sheriff's cell and see yours, that kind of thing, so he can text you.
Yep.
Great.
So Commissioner Hostetler will definitively serve, is that
Yes.
what we're right?
If you put that in the minutes, then you might have somebody.
Eagerly.
Amend the minutes. Justice project update, I don't know that I have a whole lot there. We are still working on a couple of modifications that I think you took a tour recently, Commissioner Brown. Do you have any thoughts on what you observed?
Not really. I mean, it's moving along and combining with the tour and the reports of the meeting, the progress meetings and so forth. I think everything's moving along as close to schedule as is possible. And, yeah, I think, we're looking at a late July, August completion date for the, pod. Not to be confused with the completion date for everything out there.
And that would probably be another year. So things are going okay. Anytime we change something, it's really expensive. So that is the thing that I'm trying to keep. Any change orders, any sometimes it can't be avoided. You dig a hole, there's more rock there than you thought there would be. You can't really do much about that, but there are some things we're waiting on costs on. So, but for the most part, we're within budget, on time, so we're doing okay there. I'm gonna continue to keep up on that. Commissioner Bruns, did you have anything you wanted to discuss on the help situation?
Well, just the coordinator position, if we can, if we go ahead and present what we have there. I'll just pass these one down. Those are, and you've got a copy of it, but this is the, well, let me go back and summarize how we got to where we are today. In working with Okra and Alex Taylor and trying to come up with what exactly this help coordinator position would look like and what the requirements were and all of that, Okra kept using the term part-time, a part-time position. We know that in DuBois County, a part-time position means something less than 30 hours. And to our discussion last week, you're right, it's ACA and not FL, not Fair Labor Standards Act. It's ACA that drives that. Something less than 30 hours. 30 hours or more in DuBois County means a full-time position, which means we pay full benefits, etc. So I finally just, if you followed the email chain with Okra, I laid it out. I said, okay, we either create a 28-hour part-time position or we create a 35-hour full-time position. They said they need a minimum of 30 hours. And if you followed the email, finally he came down to saying minimum 30 hours, minimum $40,000 salary unless they would also cut back on the 20,000. If we went with less than 40,000, they would cut back on the 20,000 there as well. So we moved, I had a small committee, including a couple of council members, Becky and Charmaine. We've worked together on wage study and that sort of thing throughout the years. I did have a conversation with Mike Kleesner. They all agreed that they would prefer the part-time position, but if we have to go to full-time position, that it would be the full-time directed entirely or almost entirely toward the health program. In other words, the job description would reflect the priority being the health program. And we would make it 35 hours to be the same as other courthouse type employees, 8 to 4 time frame with full benefits and with a classification of PAT3, which is comparable to the other grant positions, for example, that are employed in the criminal justice, community corrections, that sort of thing. We thought that was a good classification, good position to be in. So that's what we're proposing. Full-time, 35-hour employee with a PAT3, minimum $40,000. That's more of a council decision probably, but that would be our recommendation. With this job description that concentrates almost entirely on the health program. Now,
does the 40,000 fit within whatever the wage range is for that?
It does, yes.
What do you know what that wage range is? And with those wage ranges, it's always hourly, not annually.
Yes. Gosh.
If not, that's fine.
I think I do. Well, I'm probably a year behind here, Chad, in my database here. It was PAT3. 2076 to 2630, 23, and I think that may be a year back.
$20 to $26, 21, 27.
Yeah.
Because currently that would be, this range, this pay would be $21.97 an hour.
Right.
$22.
$22 an hour at $40,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that would be a council determination. with our recommendation. Now, timing wise, we'd like to have this person on board when immediately, as soon as the program starts, which is of course July 1st, or more realistically, that 2-day training session, which is, I don't have the dates right offhand, but it's like the second week in July, isn't it? When that happens.
12, 13, something like that, isn't it?
Like to have them on board by that time. Marky thinks we can accomplish that if we make a decision, a final decision at the council meeting end of this month. So that's why we actually have another 2 weeks to make this decision, to allow the council to make their final decision at the end of the month.
It is the 11th through the 13th.
2 full days and a half on the 13th, I think, is the idea. But they still haven't told me where or times or I don't know.
We're not scheduled over Davis County for whatever reason. That was in the back of my head.
That would be kind of the middle, but they haven't said where.
Maybe that's just there will be a kickoff, I guess, an announcement at Indianapolis prior to that.
That's
Okay.
June.
That session would probably be what I would consider the most important thing to have our coordinator on board for.
The kickoff is June 23rd.
That's probably gonna be a
It says at the
6-hour
State House.
thing for us to prep 5 minutes of something, right? I mean, as far as I know, it doesn't seem like it's anything more than a recognition,
An announcement.
and a recognition. We probably need to have somebody
The
there.
announcement that has already been made, but yeah, recognition is a better word.
So, yeah, but the training is the most important
It
part.
says State House celebration on my paper.
Celebration, okay.
But I think I would agree that having them in roughly on July 1st timeframe, give them a little time to get their feet wet. I mean, well, we just don't know who we're gonna get.
Right.
I mean, it could be somebody that knows a lot about it, or somebody that this is the first time they're hearing it. I don't know.
It'll be similar to the hiring of the grant coordinators at, like I said, in criminal justice, at community corrections and those types of places.
No, I read through this, I think this is a fine agreement, and I'm fine to look at it 2 more, or hold on to it 2 more weeks if we want to, or we can do it today. I guess there's no real benefit to doing it today, and no real benefit to not. Other than if somebody wants to provide us feedback in the next 2 weeks, I don't think I will probably vote in favor of it, but maybe we'll wait 2 weeks just to officially do it. Or would you prefer to do it today?
I will not be at our next meeting, so
You're not gonna be,
I will not, no.
while we're on that, the first meeting in June, I'm going to be out.
Okay, I will be here for
Which has
that.
nothing to do with this, but I'll just tag along with that. First meeting in June, the meeting to say that.
So if we're gonna pass it, if you're comfortable today with passing it, then maybe we should. If not, it might get kicked down another month.
Are we to,
Or you can do it.
So you won't be at the solid waste district then meeting either,
I will not.
because that's next time.
and I'll only have to be there because I'm getting back into town like at 2 in the morning.
Which I will have.
So I'm not sure. I'll be there. So we'll have
Physical or mental?
I'll physically be in attendance.
No, I'm comfortable with doing it today if you guys are. I didn't know if you wanted, I mean, because,
So all we would have
as
to
being
do,
part of the committee, we've gone through it, and this is our proposal, this is our recommendation. If you guys are ready to do it.
I am comfortable with it. I don't think it's necessarily gonna get any better. I mean, there might be some questions that arise. But I do support it. And if you guys decide to wait 2 weeks, I can't vote on it, but but I do support it.
So I guess I have a question.
Yes.
The commissioners can create it, but we only have half of it funded through the health grant.
Right.
How are we gonna fund the other half?
The other half is going to have to be
Is
funded,
it gonna be through the ARPA money?
yes, but not the
Not the
30%,
original,
not the
right.
30% bucket
Right.
that we're appropriating for this program.
So we'll have to take it to council and have a
Yes,
salary ordinance
right.
for that. We'll have to create that.
That's my understanding of it, yes.
Really,
In other words, it'll be the,
it's 30% plus salary and benefits.
30% plus.
30% of our ARPA money
Everybody went in there.
plus salary and benefits for the coordinator.
Right. That's what we're setting aside for this program, is your point, yes.
So today we would we'd create the position, we would create the job category, the council would set a wage within 21, 21 and $26 an hour, or whatever. Hang on a minute. I hope we get to it.
I'll make the motion then that we create the position of community coordinator for the health grant program with a PAT, professional administrative technologist, technological category PAT for
Second, your motion.
And for further discussion, do we need to put a timeline on this? Because the position is only funded for 1 year through Okra.
Right.
Are we going to create it for an indefinite amount of time, or are we create, how's that going to work? Recent ones, that's why I'm bringing it up, with recent grants from the community corrections, we've said the job lasts as long as the grant lasts. But I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case here.
I don't know that it's going to be the case, but maybe that's the way we should create it.
Well, and it sounds like when the Okra gives us this part of this grant, that's gonna be a separate fund, so we're gonna pay these people, this person out of 2 funds. Half and half.
Probably.
This
I
one.
don't know how, the 20,000, you're talking about the 20,000.
The extra 20, because that'll be in its own fund.
Well, okay.
It won't, well, I can't put in the ARPA money, so it'll be in its own, so we'll pay one part and then the other part, or we'll pay half and half, or.
So
To
to
be
Chad,
determined.
back to Chad's question, I think maybe we should create it for 1 year. And that's what the job description indicates.
It says this position is a requirement of help designation and thus is funding for only 1 year. Rehiring subsequent years may be negotiated. So I guess I just wanted to know how we would handle it June of 23 if there's going to be. What's going to put us in the best position a year
We
from
have
now?
to decide whether we want to go ahead and spend county money, we're taking this person, or we're just gonna let the position.
And we will have to have a budget for it this year, in case we do approve it for continuation next year. Unless we just want to do it as an additional. So I'm happy to take suggestions on the best path forward on that.
I don't know how the ARPA money affects the budget. If you do continue it next year, it can still be ARPA money. 100% of it can be ARPA money at that point.
So is it better for somebody to put it in a budget this year in case it continues, or is it better to just let it fly and we will do an additional next year if we want to continue it?
Let's see, go both ways.
So that
She can see it going
I can
both
see it
ways.
go either way. You could either say, let's just continue it with our ARPA and get rid of our ARPA money that way, or somebody put it in their budget and take on that person and we'll spend the ARPA money on something else.
I would think by the way that the position description is listed, maybe you don't need to amend your motion because it does say that it's funding for 1 year. And by stating rehiring may be negotiated, that says that it's not automatic. I mean, I think that, so I guess I'm satisfied to leave it if you guys think that this is okay. Do you, or would you like to change your?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Anybody else? Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries, the position is created.
So
For the term of 1 year,
Per the job. Yes.
And so what do you need to advertise before the council meeting as far as appropriation or whatever? I don't know what that is all saying. So that the next day we can put it
Well,
out.
when am I gonna get this money from Oprah? When are they gonna send that extra 20,000? And all of the benefits and salary are gonna have to come out of ARPA because this 20,000 is not gonna have benefits with it.
Right.
That's just salary.
I see. Yeah.
So,
So does something have to happen before you can do the proper advertising that needs to be done?
well, I can't really advertise for that grant until I receive it. We're gonna advertise this week for additional appropriations, so let me look into it.
Okay. And I can get with Okra and find out when that
Just curious when the money's coming.
$20,000 comes.
And then this position will start July 1. But that's the hopes.
That's the hope, assuming the timing works out, assuming everything gets taken care of at the council meeting that needs to be taken care of there. And then Marky gets some applications and we can make it hotter. Marky's prepared to move forward with it as soon as he's able to.
Commissioner Oskender, did you sign up for that Region 15 event, or are you still gonna do that, or you're not doing it? Okay, next thing. Each year, the community corrections has to turn in grant applications for their funding. This year, they're doing grant applications for work release, community corrections, pretrial services, and drug court. Department of Corrections requires that each of those have their own application. She put together a budget. I don't know if it was all that. This girl off to put it all together, or if she had other people doing it, but anyway, she sent all of those various applications, and I reviewed them this weekend. One of the components of turning in these applications is that we give a commissioner's letter of support for the grants. And I think that I put one together most years. I don't know if you remember that, but it's something pretty basic, and we sign off on it. I did have a number of questions for them on some of the applications, and I sent those out yesterday. We have a community corrections meeting on Thursday, I believe, and this grant is due to be turned in on Friday. I suppose my question is, do you want me to, or are you okay with me turning it in or signing a letter of support for these grant applications, one? And two, what if I don't agree with the applications? Would I withhold our, I'm not saying I think that will happen. I've got a number of questions here, and let's just say that I don't agree with something within the budget. Would that be something where I would withhold our letter of support? I guess I don't want to have to make that decision unilaterally, but we won't have a meeting between Thursday evening and Friday afternoon. So if, for example, let's say they had a budget item for something, and I thought, well, that just doesn't really seem appropriate. I don't want you to turn that in, but I want to send a letter of support supporting that. I just don't know how that would look or how that would operate. Again, I'm not expecting that to happen, but I'm just trying to look for the.
They can, and you're only talking about the letter of support.
Yes.
They can apply for the grant without our letter of support.
I believe they can apply for the grant as long as the advisory board gives approval for each of these applications.
Okay.
So if 10 of the 20 advisory board members, or 11 of them, say they favor it, it could go. Whatever the majority.
So I guess
To your point, I don't know if our letter is a requirement requirement, or it's just something nice to send along.
Usually, most of the others, I thought it was just a additional support,
That formality.
additional support. Not that it doesn't matter, but
So
it-
she has to have a letter of support, or you don't?
I mean, I don't know if it's a requirement. I know they ask for one every year, so it may be a requirement, but I know that the one requirement for sure is that the advisory board signs off on it. So that's why we're having our meeting on Thursday. It was supposed to be next week. So the advisory board has to give consent on Thursday or before, so that on Friday the applications can be turned in.
my thought is that I do not foresee not supporting it. So I would be okay with you signing a letter of support. And if you don't want to sign a letter of support, that's up to you. As they come back, if they were to come back to Nick and I and say, would you guys sign it? Then
I mean, we need 2 to 3 of us probably, because I don't want to sign off that we support it if we don't. And I think the reason I'm even bringing it up at all is because there's a few things on there that I just don't have answers for. I'm sure there's fine answers for them. Like, there's 4 new correctional officers listed and an administrative assistant. So that's 5 new employees there. There is a sixth position is another maintenance person, a part-time maintenance person, so that would be 5.5 new positions.
all of these.
And the pre-trial has 2 additional part-time staff, so that would be 5.5, 6.5 new positions if we count half-time, part-time as half-time people.
How can they create all these positions without not coming to you guys first?
And that's one of the questions I asked too. So I mean, I think what would happen would be they would get the grant funding for it, and then they would have to come in and say, we have the funding, will you create the position?
If
And
we
we
don't
could then say,
create a position,
no.
the funding goes back.
So I think that's the,
Seems like the cart's coming behind the horse.
right, and that's one thing I mentioned to them, it's the
You
advisory.
sometimes have to do that with grants.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we create a position and then the grant doesn't come through, I guess we can create a position contingent on the grant, but.
We've done it that way too.
That makes sense.
We could do it either way, I suppose, is the answer. But,
So
6.5 new
you
staff
want
members.
to request the stars and the moon in the grant, and hopefully they fund it.
Yes.
So yeah, I asked about the rationale for some of those new jobs. So anyway, and there was a couple, there was a pay increase for someone that I didn't agree with. So if they go ahead and put that in the budget, do I say, well, I don't support it, I can't sign the letter? Even if, what if, and this is likely, what if 22 out of the other 23 people at the meeting say, well, I think that's a good idea. Do I still want to sign a letter of support even though I don't support it? So I just want to get your feedback on it, if there is any. Odds are, like I said, I don't think this is going to be like a contentious issue. I just don't know all the answers yet.
Okay, this 40,000 doesn't divide out equally. I get $21.97. Except that doesn't go up to 40,000. I'm trying to,
Oh, you mean per hour? I don't, 40,000 is a minimum.
Right, so the council will have to approve something of 40,000 above.
so we have to do more than 20,000. We'll just make it more complicated.
I mean, if you're talking pennies so that it divides out equally, yeah.
But don't you have to do that with just about every office? I was gonna say, I thought that was pretty common.
Well, if you want 40,000, then it's 21.97 with pennies left over. If it's 21.98, then it's. I just wanted your, before I.
So just play it by ear and do what I think is best, contact you if it gets strange. That sounds okay.
Sounds good to me.
Great. Okay, what's next? Anything? Let's see. Solar power, that was my next thing. So we have already talked about that. Talked about that. I went in and visited with the veteran service officer and the outgoing veteran service officer last week for about an hour and a half, and it seems like the transition's going well. While I was in there were 3 or 4 phone calls, a walk-in. It's getting used, and it's going well, I guess, performing strongly. And what I've asked the new veteran service officer to do was, keep your feet wet, stay in the office, be in the office for a few weeks, start writing down a list of what you think is going to be needed to make this the best office it can be. Give us feedback and we'll work on it, because if you remember, the current VSO was talking about maybe having another part-time person, or there were a number of issues that he was bringing up. So I asked the new person, please evaluate it on your own and give us some feedback on that. That's all I have. Commissioner Brown?
No, I don't have anything else other than what I mentioned a while ago. I'm going to be out of town, out of the country actually, trip to Europe, from May 30th through June 9th. So that involves that first meeting in June.
We'll have to plan accordingly.
I'm just gonna miss this next meeting, so. And I probably won't miss another one for a very long time. And I'm not leaving the country, just the state.
And by, with leaving the country, the COVID tests and all of that, who knows how long it'll be, I'll be out.
You're praying that you don't have it when you leave and get it down there so you can stay?
It's not a beach resort or anything like that, so.
We had a friend go on a cruise and she got stuck for an additional, I think, 10 days because she had a positive test at one of the ports of call. They put her in a room and said, you can't leave yet.
Yeah, that can happen.
They did keep the bar stocked though.
That helped me remember cruise ship. So
Yeah, good Lord. All right, Commissioner Hostetter, anything else?
nothing.
Anything from the public? Mr. Murkowski, did you want to make any comments on anything from earlier? No, I didn't know if you did with that. Buffalo.
That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Schneider?
There is a 2-day seminar coming up, I don't remember if it's June or July. I'd like permission to submit a claim for that continuing education for municipal legal work. I think about $300 some.
Who's offering it?
That group, that Indiana Municipal Lawyers Association through AIM.
Okay. I have no issue with that. Anyone else?
Nope.
And does Mr. Schneider just use our travel line item? I think you have unanimous consent to proceed with that.
Been a while. I haven't gone anywhere in a long time.
It's smarter.
Huh?
It's smarter.
What can do.
We can't tell you've been going downhill. We'll take this, we'll hope for it.
Until 2020 really is.
What does AIM stand for?
Accelerate Indiana municipalities.
Anything else from the auditor? Brent?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll close the meeting.
Who else?